Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. New viewers, welcome. We are broadcasting live worldwide. A pleasure to have everyone here. A privilege to have you with me. A privilege to have you spending your time here tonight. And thank you to everyone who took the time to watch the National Citizens Inquiry all day and participate in the chat. Grateful to you for doing that. As you know, it's an important event in Canadian history, an important event for the world, really, because it is giving a voice to people who, until now, have been largely ignored unless they were arrested for breaking pandemic rules that the government imposed during the lockdowns and the height of the pandemic period. Well, now those stories are coming out. People are sharing their experiences. We're getting their impact statements. If we have a little time tonight, I might run a couple of clips from some of the testimony today. Some of it was heart-wrenching, especially the comments that came from the funeral director who took the stand for a second time to share his account of a funeral for a young child where he decided to break the rules to allow the family to come in to pay their last respects and say goodbye to a child. Overreach, lies, truth. These words, they hang in the ether, you know, these days. Dark days. Beautiful day outside today, sunny. Like summer for the last 3 days here where I live. Welcome change, but I still feel the weight of government. It's just there. And it isn't just the weight of government, it's something else in the air. It's not tangible, but you feel it every day. At least I do. Maybe other people are oblivious, but I feel it. Maybe I'm just immersed in this online metaverse. This is where the information war is being fought every day, and I spend hours in here every day, every week. I'm living in a metaverse, a digital war zone where it's hard to know who your friends and who your foes are, where it's hard to know what's real and what isn't. Trying to make sense of things. You have to detach. Just go outside and look at the sun. They can't control the sun. Or can they? Can they control the weather? Can they make the sky dark? What rabbit holes will we go down today? What rabbit holes will we go down tonight? What rabbit holes can I pull you out of? Can I rescue people? Can I even rescue myself? from the constant barrage of whatever you call it, misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, propaganda, psyops. Wow. I did that whole show on what is reality a few months back. Most people were like, what are you talking about? Maybe we'll get into some of that tonight. I hope not. It's enough to blow your mind trying to figure out what's real anymore. Last night we talked about how two people today can look at exactly the same thing and come away with two diametrically opposed views of what they just witnessed. How can that be? Is someone just lying? Or are people lying? Or do they really think they see things that aren't there? And if they're seeing things in a completely inaccurate way, how do I know that even what I'm seeing is accurate? I'm constantly questioning myself. Are you in the real zone? Are any of us in the real zone? I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I never intended to talk about this when I signed on here at 7 p.m. late because of the NCI inquiry going late again. Third day of testimony in Winnipeg. I'm just kind of winging it, but I do have a lot of other stuff to talk about tonight. One of the things I was thinking of talking about tonight was chemtrails. I'm seeing just, an increasing amount of discussion, more and more posts, especially over the last week, about chemtrails. It's now, it's the new thing in my metaverse bubble. That's what everybody's on about now. It was ramping up a couple of weeks ago too, and I have to wonder why. Is that organic or is that manipulation? Why am I being bombarded with all this chemtrail stuff? More today in my feeds. I don't know about you. At the NCI today, they were talking about propaganda, misinformation, all the censorship and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And, I told you I went and visited my family. Back at the beginning of the month. And it's interesting. I just throw it out there. They don't understand that I use them to stay grounded, to keep my perspective on things. And so when I was there, I was just asking my son what kind of things he was getting in his social media feeds. And he didn't really understand why I was asking him. I needed the information to keep my perspective and to stay grounded. Because I know that social media feeds me what they think I want to see or what they want me to see to try to make me think in particular ways, I think. And the same thing with you. I mean, what you get is not what I get. It's all tailored. It's customized to you, which is scary enough. But I just asked him, and he doesn't get any of the stuff that I get because he's very non-political, right? Not that I want to talk about my son, out of school without his permission. I'm not going to give you a lot of the details of, the conversations or anything without his permission. I'm just saying that it was revealing to me because he doesn't see any of the stuff that I see. It's just not even on his radar. So it gives me perspective. And as a journalist, I need that because today it's very difficult to weight stories, events, circumstance. because what you see in your metaverse is important to you. What you're getting in your news feeds on Facebook and Twitter and so on, that's what you seem to think is important. And it is important to you. It's entirely relevant to your reality. But to him, the things that are important to me, the things that I'm seeing, the things that I think are significant in the news cycle right now, to him are completely irrelevant, or a lot of it. I mean, he hears some of the mainstream regular stories, as do my other relatives, but you know, it's a different mix of information. And so to me, it's like, oh, look at that. That's important. Oh, that's a new development in that story. And look how significant this is. And so a lot of the people in my feeds, they're really kind of not important at all. In the overall scheme of things, they're important within my little bubble. And so I have to be careful to not put too much emphasis on the information that's flowing to me because it's skewed. It's true of everyone. The information they're feeding you, it amplifies things for you, just as it does for me, because they're putting the information in front of you constantly, repeated, you know, over and over again. So it looks like it's more important sometimes than it really is. Some of it truly is important. It is important on a broader scale to a wider group of people, but a lot of it is important to you and just the people in your bubble, your online community, and by extension, some of the people in the real world as well. Your community. That's what's important in your community, what's important to you, not necessarily the whole world. So it's easy to lose your perspective. You know, what's really important. There were some stories that I had queued up last night, and as I was about to go and talk about them last night, I took them out of the mix because I began to realize it's like, that's not really that important beyond my little circle. And we need to stay, you know, focused on what's truly important. Things like the war in Ukraine, that's important. Things like the economy, that's important. Things like Katie Telford, Justin Trudeau's chief of staff, testifying to the parliamentary committee looking at Chinese involvement and interference, if you will, into Canada's elections. That's important. But some other things, smaller players, people who really are not significant in the overall scheme of news, pop up in my feed just because I know them or because I've clicked on them. And maybe they've made headlines, but really they're not important people at all. There was a guy who was in court yesterday, and a mainstream media outlet actually did a story on this person. And he was charged with, he was involved in a lawsuit, a defamation lawsuit, and he has to pay a severe fine, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I was going to run a story about it, and then I realized, you know, really, that guy, he's not even worth mentioning. He'll never pay the fine. He doesn't have the money. He's a fake freedom fighter. Not about freedom at all. What he is an attention seeker. So the last thing I really want to do is just give him more attention. Because in the overall scheme of things, he's not important. He doesn't contribute anything constructive. And this stupid court case was proof of that. So I'm not even going to tell you what his name is. But it just shows how social media can amp it up, and make it seem like it's more important. And I almost bid on it. And I thought, in the end, no, we're not going to do that. Anyway, social media, it is a double-edged sword. It allows us to reach out and touch each other, intellectually and share information and debate online when they're not censoring that crap out of us. Again, today we weren't running the NCI on YouTube. YouTube does not deserve you guys as an audience anyway. They don't deserve this channel. They don't deserve a lot of things. What a terrible business model they have. We don't like what you're saying. You're censored. You're off. Okay. Well, we're growing on Rumble, I'll tell you that. Like crazy. And on other platforms too. Collectively, we get way more views on other platforms now than we do on our YouTube channel. And we built the YouTube channel. We have tons of subscribers there. And you know what they do? I mean, tens of thousands of subscribers across our YouTube channels. They don't send the notifications out. Not to all of the people. Not even close. Subscribers. It's a distortion of reality. And one of the things I know they're doing, for sure, because I can see it in the analytics, I can see it, is that we reach far more people on YouTube than they acknowledge. They mess with the analytics. So we're reaching way more people, but they make it look in the numbers like we're not there. So be it. Whatever. Doesn't hurt my feelings. It's just interesting to me. And that's why we're going to talk tonight too about ChaosGPT, technology, information warfare, all of these things. We showed you Digidog, the mechanical android robot police dog, canine Digidog thing that they're using in New York, the NYPD, unleashing a digital savior or terror. You decide. Is it the prelude to Terminator? May well be. We'll get into the ChaosGPT. I want to have a discussion about it in the call-in portion of the show tonight. That's why we're doing it. It's a story that kind of came out a couple of days ago, and this open source digital metaverse artificial intelligence entity came up with a scenario to exterminate humanity. Is it really a threat? Does it represent an existential threat to humanity? I think so. Maybe not immediately, but in the very near future, it well could if we don't rein this thing in. And while it is entertaining right now to talk about it, I think it really does represent a real threat. Think about it. What we're witnessing is like the artificial intelligence version of Pong. It's just waking up. And right now it's playing Pong. Boop. 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 Pong. Or remember they had like double Pong or tennis Pong. You could play doubles and they had like two of the boop, 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 boop. You could play with like 4 people. And then before you knew it, we had Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64. And it just keeps on going and going. But artificial intelligence, it expands its knowledge, its power exponentially. You know what exponentially means, right? Just multiplies by factors of, it will exceed our capacity to even understand before we know it. Not that I'm trying to like depress you or anything, but they're playing Pong right now. And the ChaosGPT immediately went for the most powerful nuclear weapon known to mankind. Started searching for it. We're going to talk about that. Plus, I was talking about the climate. Beautiful day out there today. Great to clear my head, just to go out and walk around it, just like summer. And then I'm thinking to myself, they're declaring a climate emergency? Makes no sense. A lot of things don't make sense to me. A lot of things just don't make sense to me. I think the country, the world is run by a bunch of morons. I really do. Lunatics, really. Some of them are crazy. Some of them are mad. Some of them are just downright stupid. A lot of them don't care. Selfish. Climate emergency. It was a beautiful day. I look up, it's like sunny blue skies. It was gorgeous. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, it was so nice out. And it was such an emergency today that Leo, mouth of the South, went jet skiing. Remember a couple of days ago, he said he was going to play hooky from work, go jet skiing, but he didn't. He went to work yesterday instead. But not today. He went for a dunk in the Detroit River. Got out there on his jet ski, did his thing, and he's going to join us on the show pretty soon, actually, because I've been rambling on, and I haven't even gotten to the news yet. Not really, but he's going to be along. And I don't know if it's news, but it was fun just watching him do his thing. And we're going to show you a video of that, and he's going to join us on the show, and he's going to talk about it and explain how he dealt with today's climate emergency. Not that they actually declared a specific climate emergency relating to today. It's just an overall thing. You know, it's a climate emergency. It's ongoing. Be afraid. Be very, 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 very afraid. I don't know what else to tell you. I was petrified out there walking around today. It was like 85 degrees Fahrenheit, probably. The sky was blue. A few wisps of cloud here and there. Yeah, I know. Chemtrails. Yeah, there were some of them up there too, or whatever you want to call them. I've got a video. Maybe I'll run it about that. You maybe during the call-in portion, you guys can tell me what you think about chemtrails. I don't want to dig into it too deep. Maybe I don't know. I hate bringing these things up. It's just that it's in my metaverse bubble because I'm being bombarded with it. Everybody's talking about chemtrails now. Chemtrails and drag queen storytime transgenderism cults or whatever. It's constant in my feeds. I don't know about you guys. That's all I'm hearing about. But it was 85 out when I turned off the computer. Wow, it was nice. What a gorgeous day. What else do we have to talk about tonight? You know, aside from these doomsday scenarios where robots are going to take over the planet. Oh, Alberta's Premier, Danielle Smith. I don't know what to think of this, but she has announced new limits on media questions. This is a conservative premier who I thought was sort of pro free speech. But going to limit questions reporters are allowed to ask because they're heading into an election. Also, archaeologists in Italy unearthed an ancient statuette. Hopefully, we'll have some time to yak about that a little bit. And then in Japan, an explosive device was thrown at the Japanese PM at a campaign event. One person was hurt there. We'll have a report on that. And yeah, mouth of the South taking a dip in the Detroit River. And we also, is that it? I think that's pretty much, that's going to cover the bulk of the stories here today that we'll dig into. So that's where we're going. Don't go away. I've got more right after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So there was another story that I did forget to tell you about, and we're going to lead with it here tonight. Antony Blinken supposed to go to China, but not going to happen because China don't want him there right now. China stalls Antony Blinken's Beijing visit over spy balloon concerns. Efforts to reschedule canceled trip by U.S. Secretary of State run into friction over FBI investigation. This is from the Financial Times. Other media also reporting on this tonight. In this article, saying China is refusing to let U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visit Beijing over concerns that the FBI will release the results of an investigation into the downed suspected Chinese spy balloon. For people familiar with the negotiations, said China had told the U.S. it was not prepared to reschedule a trip that Blinken canceled in February, while it remains unclear what the administration of President Joe Biden will do with the report. The FBI has been analyzing debris salvaged from the balloon since it was shot down in February. Is it a balloon? I thought it was just like an object. They're kind of unclear about that. The U.S. says the craft was spying on sensitive military sites, but China says it was a weather balloon blown off course by weather. Chinese officials are concerned the Biden administration could release the FBI report along with physical evidence from the balloon, and that its findings could be made public during Blinken's trip to China. They don't really want to talk to the guy because he's been, to say the least, untrustworthy. He has a record of being untrustworthy. Blinken was one of the architects of all the turmoil in Ukraine. Him and Victoria Nuland. So I'm not surprised they don't really want the guy there. They don't want to talk to him. And you have all this saber rattling going on right now over Taiwan. There's a ton of tension. A ton. He's supposed to go there to China right now? Nothing productive will come from it anyway. Everything's just too hot. Everything's ramped up too much. So, I mean, it would be nice to think that they could talk and get to a better place, but now is not the time. It's not going to happen. Even if they were to, even if he goes, it would just be, it would result in nothing. If anything, it might even just make things worse. That's the wrong guy to send, frankly. Unless you want to go to war. If you want to go to war with China, send that guy. He'll do a good job. That's what he does. That's what he does. I'm telling you. Not cool. Okay, what else do we have? I don't want to get into the ChaosGPT thing yet, because I want to hopefully deal with the Leo story first. And I want to save the ChaosGPT till the end before we go into the call-in portion of the show. Here's Alberta's premier. And again, you know, I keep coming back to Danielle Smith, the leader of the UCP, United Conservative Party in Alberta. And I know that our U.S. viewers are probably like, I don't care about Canadian politics. Well, you should pay attention to this. You should be paying attention to her. She's on the cutting edge of the conservative movement in Canada. You might argue that she's kind of playing with the populists. I think she was. I don't know if she is now. I think she's pulled back. And she's wrestling, struggling with the mainstream media. She is trying to find her footing. They've got her off balance a little bit with some of these attacks that they've been leveling. The released conversation she had with Pastor Artur Pawlowski, who was arrested and facing charges related to the pandemic and lockdowns, given tickets for feeding the homeless, given tickets for, well, he's the guy that chased the bylaw officers and police out of his church, called them Nazis. There's more going on to that with that story, though. I guarantee it. Stuff that we've not been told. And I'm not just saying on the government side, but on the Pawlowski side too, because he had that recording. And while I don't know exactly who released it to the mainstream media, but that phone conversation that he had with Danielle Smith, it was either, there were only 3 people on the call: the premier, Pawlowski, and Pawlowski's lawyer. I don't think the lawyer released it, and I don't think Danielle Smith released it. Somebody released it to the mainstream media. He wanted the premier to intervene and do something on his behalf to deal with these charges. And while the mainstream media thinks they have sort of a gotcha moment, I don't think they do, because she actually made it pretty clear that she couldn't direct the authorities, couldn't influence the legal process. It had to go through its normal course. It had to wind its way through the courts. You had to deal with it that way, like anybody else. She couldn't just wave a magic wand and make the charges go away. Not as premier. It would have been entirely inappropriate. And she doesn't have the power to issue like a pardon like the president of the United States, not as a premier. But anyway, she is now going to limit the number of questions that reporters are allowed to ask during news conferences. And she says that's because they're going into an election. They're really just days away from the election being officially declared underway, a provincial election. And she is saying that now reporters will get one question, no follow-ups. And the opposition NDP, New Democratic Party, which is socialist for sure, and previously in power at one point, they're using that as more ammunition to take shots at Danielle Smith. And they're saying that they'll take any questions, answer all questions. And isn't that ironic? I've never found the NDP to be pro-free speech, ever. Not ever. In all the years I've worked as a journalist, if I went to NDP events, they would pick and choose who they were going to talk to, who they were going to let into their events, news conferences, whatever. If they didn't trust you, if they thought you were on the other side, they wouldn't let you in. Even if you were a mainstream media journalist, if you weren't a cheerleading for them, or if they didn't think that you were a cheerleader, they wouldn't let you in. I was never denied access to anybody's events because in all the years I worked in the mainstream media, nobody could ever figure out really where I sat politically, at least none of the newsmakers that I engaged with. So I was never denied access to anything, but I saw lots of reporters who were over the years, and that consistently happened with the NDP. I'm sorry to tell you, but that is the case. Pro-censorship for sure. The people on the left, that's where really all of that mindset resides. At least that's where it used to. Now it has spread across the political spectrum, and now even Danielle Smith is beginning to practice some level of censorship, restricted practices where they won't let reporters in. You're seeing it on the national stage. You've been seeing it with even the Conservative Party of Canada, where they have had leaders like Andrew Lucier, who, they refuse to talk to even news outlets like Rebel Media. And that mindset continues even now. We saw Kareem Assad trying to get into a Pierre Poilievre event, actually a series of Pierre Poilievre events where they consistently just over and over again kept kicking her out. And she kept on trying. She kept applying, or kept receiving invitations to these events. She'd go there with the invitation and they'd kick her out. But finally, they let her in. Persistence paid off. But they saw her coming. They clearly don't think that she's friendly, but she wasn't disruptive at all. She just went in, shot video. I think some of the, her shtick, and I kind of like it, is she just shoots video, goes live sometimes, or posts videos, just showing raw stuff, but showing the contradictions and things, right? Stuff that actually makes you laugh. Because just by showing the reality of something, she will pull the absurdity out of it, or the irony, or the hypocrisy sometimes, just by saying, look at this. And then maybe a little caption at the top, and people see it in a different perspective. And I like that. It makes you look and broaden your perspective. I think she's very, very intelligent. You may not like her politics, but in a way, her stuff's very balanced. In a way. Not that anything is completely balanced, because everybody brings their own worldview to everything that they talk about or share or report on if you're a journalist. So Danielle Smith, she's not limiting the questions, because she says she wants to limit the take away the follow-up questions so that she can answer lots of questions. which is to say that she wants to give more reporters access to her to ask questions because there's going to be an election on. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's because she doesn't want to engage in banter, doesn't want to have to deal with low-level debate with reporters. It means that somebody gets to ask a question. If she doesn't like it, she'll give some sort of a pat non-answer where she just talks about what she wants to talk about without actually answering the question. And then there's no follow-up for the reporter to say, no, you didn't answer my question. Here it is again. Please answer the question. That's what it is. In a way, I don't really blame her because the media can be pretty vicious, especially right now, heading into an election, and the media has not been kind to her because the media is biased. The mainstream media is absolutely left-wing, woke, pro-government, not government, because she is the government, but they're not partial to her, not sympathetic. They're very critical, but beyond critical. They're hostile. And I think you'll find that that will ramp up in the days ahead. And Danielle Smith knows it. That's why she's doing what she's doing. Do I agree with it? Nope. If I were in her shoes, I would not do that. I would take the questions. It's a mistake. She should know that because she's a former radio talk show host and media personality. She should understand how the media works. When you do that, you end up with an even more hostile media. Guaranteed. Nothing made me more upset than actions like that. That just makes me dig harder, work harder, and ask even harder questions. That's the way I see it anyway. You know, I know a lot of what's going on out there right now in the world of politics and media is people are expected to choose sides. It's extremely unfortunate because that is why debate is so limited right now. I, as a journalist, would never be allowed in now to some news events. I, as a journalist, can't get some people to call me back because they view me in a particular way. Oh, he's too right-wing, or he's too left-wing, or he's too this or too that, and they won't talk to you. That's extremely unfortunate. I never had that problem before, but that's also because this is a new form of journalism, and I've exposed myself by showing my worldview, my bias on a lot of different issues. So, and I've declared that I'm kind of pretty conservative, that I'm pro-freedom, although that word should be defined. We won't get into that right now, but, you know, I'm a pro-freedom, pro-conservative, to some degree a populist, for sure, especially these days, pro-people. But people with their black and white view of the world, you know, you're left, you're right. Pick your team. Which side are you on? Well, I'm on the people's side. What does that mean? Then everybody's upset with you. It means you don't get into certain events. It's not good. So, you know, if I were running Danielle Smith's campaign, if I were her campaign manager, I would say, just let them in. Let them in and be prepared to answer the questions. Do your homework. Educate yourself on the issues. Make sure you've got it all straight up here before you go out there. You know who's good at it? Pierre Poilievre. He's excellent. He's got it all compartmentalized. He's got the answers. He knows all the key issues. And when he's asked, he gives the answer. And I hate to say it, but you know who else is good at it? Not as good as Poilievre, but you know who else is good at it? Trudeau. Trudeau has the answers kind of stuck back here. He's not as good at Poilievre recites. He has scripts in his head. He can deviate from it and elaborate, but he recites scripts. Trudeau, he ad libs more, but he's good at that too. As a result, linguistically, he is not as effective. As an orator, he's not quite as effective, I don't think, as Poilievre. But he's very good at just answering questions, because you watch him at the podium, and when a reporter asks him a question about a particular issue, you look at his eyes and he'll look down and you can see his little computer brain going, brr, 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 there's the file over here, and then he talks about it. You can see him processing the information, and he'll nod. Yeah, okay, got it. And a lot of that too is because some of those questions coming from the mainstream media, staged. Yep. Predetermined. He knows the questions are coming. I'm certain of it. He knows that certain reporters are going to ask about a certain thing. Bam, there it is. That's to make sure that they get their messaging out. And after all, you want your money's worth when you're paying for the media like that. And he gets it. Poilievre less so. Especially when he's threatening to take the funding away from the CBC. Therein lies another issue, censorship. Defund the CBC. Now there's a concept, there's an idea. I wouldn't think that would be such a bad thing in today's day and age. You know, the CBC back in the day when it was created, why was it created? It was created because Canada is such a huge country. And the idea was you need a national broadcaster to help bring the country together, to tie the country together, to have this community voice that would join the nation. Because the United States, especially because of our proximity as Canadians to the US, we were being bombarded with these US television and radio signals, always have been. And it has a very a huge effect on Canadian culture, whatever Canadian culture might be. It Americanizes us. As a kid, you know, I'm probably one of the most Americanized Canadians you're ever going to meet, because I lived for quite a while in Windsor, right on the border. I lived down there for over a decade. And when I grew up, even in my town, my city, we were close enough to the border that we picked up stations from Detroit. Didn't live in Detroit at the time. I grew up in London, Ontario. But we were able to pick up television signals from like WXYZ, Channel 7, ABC, Detroit, and Channel 2, WJBK. We didn't have a lot of channels back in those days. It just shows you how old I am. You know, back in those days, we had a rotary dial on the TV. Our TV was black and white, and bunny ears sitting on top of the old TV in the living room. But we could pick up Detroit. So we had CBC, Detroit. We had a local TV station. We didn't get a lot of channels. I think maybe about a half a dozen. And those numbers grew over time. But that's what the CBC was. It was about, you know, a huge country. How can you bring Canadians together? And how can you preserve Canada as a country culturally? They understood back then that culture was important. See, different mindset, right? Kind of nationalistic in that way. They wanted to preserve Canada as a nation state, as a country, as a cohesive national community. And they needed a Canadian broadcaster and, you know, backed up by the government, because it was impossible at the time to really make money providing news coverage and programming that provided a national flavor, when you had to have programming not only sent out across the country, but it had to be produced from all points of the country. And when you're trying to get to remote locations and shoot things and pay staff, that's not a profit-making scenario really. Especially when, well, I mean, it's just pretty obvious, right? If you need to fly somebody to the Northwest Territories to cover a story up there, population's pretty thin. It's costly is the point, and a lot of ground to cover. But today, everything's changed. It's not just black and white TVs with 6 channels in medium-sized cities, and in major cities, maybe originally there was like 13 channels on the dial total on VHF. Ooh, then they added, there were channels out there on UHF, ultra high frequency, baby. Those were sort of secondary channels, didn't get as much in terms of ratings, but when those came along, it expanded the channels more. But today, thousands available, plus all the stuff online. It's like a limitless barrage of video information, not just videos, but multimedia, interactive social media platforms, Discord, Twitter, Truth Social. It just goes on and on and on. YouTube, Facebook. And soon, I think YouTube will render itself obsolete, irrelevant. It's happening. They're doing it to themselves. The censorship. So what do you need the CBC for anyway, man? We don't need them anymore. Not really. They should be able to stand on their own. Nobody's watching them. Hardly. When I watch the CBC, I'm appalled. More so with radio. The radio side is just, stomach churning. Absolutely stomach churning. You know what? It's like, what do they talk about? Legalizing hard drugs. Normalizing the legalization of hard drugs. I keep hearing that. Medical assistance in dying. That was something that I kept hearing about over and over and over again on CBC radio, reports on stuff like that. And I haven't listened for a while because I normally would only listen to it on the radio if I'm making a trip to Toronto, and I haven't done that for quite a while. But man, I'll tell you, that's the crap that they feed you. Your tax dollars at work and not needed anymore, man. And Bill C-11, that's an attempt really largely to protect the CBC and other mainstream media outlets, to force you to watch it by pushing them up in the search engine rankings. Hang on a second. We're going to take a brief break. I'm going to queue up this video of Leo, and he's going to join us and talk about the big climate emergency out there. So severe, so terrible, so awful that he had to go jet skiing today. That was his response. And I don't blame him one darn bit. Don't go away.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, let's bring him in. You're the mouth of the South, Leo, but, today I think you might need to steal Ted Nugent's nickname, Motor City Madman, because what you did was kind of insane.
Insane. I do it all the time, Rick. That's the insane thing about it, right? That's normal to me. That's reality. What I did today is reality. I get so much freedom in what I think is freedom, true freedom. All the problems that I have in the city of Windsor and Canada, once I'm on the water in maritime law, not common law, everything stays on shore. I'm so free when I'm out there. It's crazy, right? And people laugh, right, when they see the videos. So, how do you like the shirt?
I think you look very stylish. I love it, actually.
Well, there's a story behind this shirt. It's my father's shirt, who passed away 10 years ago, and having 11 children. At the end of the day, in the will, there wasn't much for anybody, right? And I wasn't expecting anything, and I didn't want anything. Anything that I did get, I gave it to my little sister, right, which is younger than me. She's the baby of the family, right? So my mother said, "You don't want anything?" I said, "I'll take that shirt right there, this shirt." And I took a couple of screwdrivers out of his garage and that are in my toolbox at work every day. And it's a reminder from those screwdrivers that somebody asked me for a screwdriver. I always say, put the fucking thing back, because that's what my dad always said. You could use the tools. You better put them back where you found them, right? So, the history behind the shirt, I like the shirt. I thought, you know what, I'm going to wear it for you tonight, buddy.
Beautiful shirt.
Thank you.
Love that. And I love what you did today, too. I'm just going to let this roll here a little bit. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, I'm on the Windsor side, downtown Windsor, the big flags of the Detroit River. And the Detroit River is a channel. A shipping channel that runs through the Great Lakes systems. Without it, you're not getting to the Great Lakes. Well, my body's been hurting me the last few. We got another jet skier out here. I'm not alone.
What's the temperature in the water there today? Any idea?
It was 52 degrees in the water.
That's not that bad, actually.
It's not that bad when you think about it. We're not even in spring yet, are we?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's the first day of spring.
Downtown Windsor to downtown Detroit.
March 20th was the first day of spring.
There we go. So we are. And this is freedom to me.
We're a long way from summer, though. That's June 21st.
I made history today for myself, anyways. I grew up on the water. My dad had a 24-foot boat. I had a 35-foot cabin cruiser. I've always had boats my whole life. And I've never been on the water at April 15th ever. I've never launched my boat till May 24. First week of May, maybe, depending on the weather, but not April 15th ever. Never mind going in the water. Right? So, yeah, this video says a lot of things anyways. You know, the people that you meet just on the open water, I don't even know this guy who's going to hand him my $1,000 phone. Here, want to film something? Yeah, oh yeah. I don't even know. He probably had a faster machine than I have. He could have just easily took off back to where he's from, right? But I met some of the most trustworthy, beautiful people on the water, right? This is freedom to me. So right now I'm about 50 feet from shore, but I get really close to shore. I love downtown Detroit, the Motor City Breakdown, Motown, baby.
So what's the law say about you navigating over on that side of the river?
Well, the law says this: if I touch shore and I'm on the water and I don't have an I-68, okay, I could be detained in a New York second. If my boat broke and I had to touch the U.S. shore, I could still be detained. So it's risky business. As long as you don't touch shore, you can go over there. That's always been a law. That's maritime law, by the way. Mm-hmm. Not common law, not Canadian law, not U.S. law. That's marine law.
Right.
Right. So as long as you don't touch shore, you're good to go. Now, I might have broken a law here as we get closer to the downtown GM place, the old Renaissance Center. Right. Detroit Police Precinct. The Port of Detroit.
actually love Detroit. I think it's a great town.
Me too. And you know what? With the scamdemic, and when they shut everything down, they didn't shut me down. You see what I'm doing today?
Yeah.
I was doing that the whole time and filming it.
Do you remember the strip ship?
No.
Years ago? No? Well, I can't remember the guy's name. He built a boat. You do remember that? Did
he have a bunch of strippers on it?
Yes.
He's from Chatham, a multi-millionaire guy. I know where the boat is.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, it's in LaSalle. I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Yeah. And so he was using maritime law to get around the licensing requirements for a strip club, and he would like cruise up and down the river, and the city didn't like that.
Oh, I know where the boat is. The boat's for sale, actually. A big old steel boat.
Yeah. And I did a story on that, and I went. I had to go on the strip ship and shoot video.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a rough assignment.
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
That was fun.
So I may have broken a law here. Okay, I may have broken a law here. Maybe. I don't know. Who's to say?
What law would you have broken there? I don't see you doing it anywhere.
Well, I meet this American here. I don't even know who he is. I come up to him because, like I said, some of the most friendliest people are on the water that I've ever met. That's why I like the water, right?
So you might have broken a law because you interact with him, or you?
No, because right here.
Could you give him
the phone? Right now.
I give him my phone.
Yeah.
Right. So if they were watching, it could have been good. Could have been
2 degrees.
So who knows? I don't know.
Here, do you want to film me?
No touch.
Hey, I'll jump in. I'm going swimming in Detroit. Here, I'll turn it around here.
So I'm dead nuts in the Detroit area. Maybe about 50 feet from shore.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
I think this guy really liked us.
You're a very trusting person.
I'll go buy another phone, steal it.
This guy's crazy. April 4/15, 2023. This has never happened in my lifetime at 53 years old. Here we go, baby. Nuts. Holy fuck, this guy's crazy. Wow. Oh, man. Are you a Navy SEAL, man? 52 degrees. Woo!
There you are in the water, man.
The Navy SEALs do that in their training, eh? At that temperature.
Oh, yeah, my body loves this. Oh, shit.
And what was it like, Leo? How cold was it?
Well, you know, people pay. People pay to have ice baths, okay, for therapeutic value. I didn't pay anything today. Right? And for my joints and muscles, buddy, it's straight right out.
The master of all
right?
disaster. You ain't lying, Don Gillenas. That's my hand.
He's reading the comments under the master of all disaster.
Thanks, brother. You got it, man. Look at this. Where are you from in Michigan? Dearborn, baby. That's southwest over there by the bridge. Awesome. Thanks, brother. You got it anytime. Come and play in our waters. Canada. Yeah, you got MC numbers. I'm Canadian. That's how you tell, brother. We're coming over here. So, it's a balmy 52 degrees. My body feels so good. Really good.
And that's the water temperature, 52.
Really, really good.
91 outside.
91 today?
I've been working a lot of crazy hours. Like 60, 70-hour work weeks for a long time, and my body's been aching. I've been dying to hit the cold water. I felt colder. Okay, Georgian Bay 24 is colder than this Detroit River right now. Lynn Valley, North Vancouver, is always colder than this Detroit River right now. That's glacier-fed water. So, it is what it is.
So, Leo, what is it about the... What is it about the cold water that is revitalizing?
Where did my
Helps with muscle and joint aches. The natives, actually, the natives know about this since day one.
I identify as penisless.
Identify. Penisless now.
A lot of fishermen out here, anglers. The walleye are running.
A lot of
I
unexperienced.
don't want to be an animal and pick up waves and scare the fish away.
A lot of anglers, boats, fishing boats that are not experienced at all. So you got to keep a close eye while you're
body just felt.
Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to 10, 10. Better, by far better. I've been whining every night about my shoulder and taking arthritis pills for my shoulder because my shoulder feels out of whack, and when I sleep, I don't get a good night's sleep, right? So I take these arthritis pills over the counter. They seem to work, but this cold water just did me 100% better by far.
Wow. So there's natural therapy for you.
The natives have known this for 2,000 years, right? Many different cultures use cold water, right, for healing purposes. And
just tuning in now. I didn't take the dip. I went swimming in Detroit.
I ended up going in another dozen times after that. That machine I have is too hard to flip, so I don't get wet on that thing. But I got an XP, which is a Sportster, and this thing, Rick, I'll dump it 50 times in a day. I broke a couple ribs on it. It's super fast.
Now I'm back home.
I don't like using it anymore, right? So it sits idle.
And there's the big flag, the big Canadian flag, back on the Canadian side now.
People don't understand how close we really are to the United States of America. I just show you this video.
Right, yes.
Right. So it's tough to fathom. We used to be called the Tijuana of the North, Windsor, right? Back in the 80s and 90s. You remember that, Rick?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was there.
So that was just awesome to go swimming April 15th. Never been done for me. Not in the Detroit River, not in the Channel, and definitely not in Detroit. Not this time of year.
Well, the
call
weather
it
has been
El Nino, climate change, whatever you want to call it. I call it beautiful out today.
Yeah, me too.
And it's hard to believe we'll probably get snow by next week again.
Yeah. Weird, eh?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, not really, but, you know, it's always unsettled this time of year. You never know what you're going to get.
Running pretty good.
Beautiful riverfront, man.
Oh, I'll be taking another dip.
Windsor's a good town, too. I love Windsor. Love to live in there. I honestly didn't care for it at first, but it really grew on me.
But I am washing down. It's dirty. It's been sitting in the driveway. Dusty. I'm going to wash her down really good. I'm just glad to be out. And I like coming out on the water because all the problems that I have in the city, not many problems at 53, but any problems I do have in the city, they stay in the city. And when I'm on the water, I feel a sense of freedom. A great sense of freedom. You can't put money on that. I don't have a care in the world when I'm out here. And I shouldn't.
I guess in that sense, Leo, freedom's a mindset, right?
100%. When you don't have a...
Remember when I had the 30-foot cabin cruiser and all these people fishing along the shores? I'd come in with my boat, twin motors, and if they didn't reel in, they lost their lines, their fishing rods, everything. They got sucked in by my prop. Then I have to go for a swim with the scuba diving gear and get all the fishing gear and flying off my damn prop before I got into my seals. Yeah, okay, Larry. Larry, you want to come for a swim? The big bald guy. You ain't got the balls. You ain't got the tooth. You can't handle the tooth.
This is actually pretty exciting stuff.
I do it all summer
running
long.
really good. I put a little bit more oil in it to let it run rich, this tank of gas that I'm going to burn off.
And people also don't
But I am going
realize that
swimming again.
Windsor is actually north of Detroit.
100%.
The guy in the States holding my camera while I'm swimming either. You a Navy SEAL? No, but if you ask my wife, I'm first class seaman. Not a Navy SEAL. First class seaman, Leo. No seaweed out here yet. And there shouldn't be. We haven't hit spring yet.
Would you say the Detroit River is cleaner today than it was, say, back in the 70s, 80s,
Well,
60s?
I know for a fact, Rick, because I've been boating since first time I was 5 years old when my dad had his 1975.
I want to pin it, but
And it's cleaner today than it's ever been. 100%.
I just want to take it easy. I already pinned it out a couple of times.
Our water is our lifeline. We have to protect our water at all costs, okay? I'm a big advocate on that.
Fake news, CBC building. Where those flags are.
Yeah, there they are.
You might see me on fake news. It's fake. Some guy swimming in the Detroit River. April 15th. That water is cold. I'm not going to joke. But it feels really refreshing. And my body does not ache at all now.
In reality, CBC Windsor is just a shadow of what it once was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the days have turned for CBC, right? It used to be a reputable, very good news agency throughout the country up until about 3 years ago.
I will pin it. Let's get back to the beach and do some swimming. Yeah! I don't know what happened there. I was pinning it. I turned it around. I was pinning it, going really fast. I'll try this. Can't hardly see. The sun is bright. I should have put sunscreen on.
Just look at the color of that water. It's beautiful. It's turquoise.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
about 70 kilometer an hour, right about there.
That's a good clip.
100%.
Water doesn't look like it looked like it was pretty calm today, so you had a good day.
Yeah, I've been out there in that channel because the way it is between Windsor and Detroit, the waves from the ships, they just go to we call it the bowl, right? They just bounce off each shoreline back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And, you get some 3.5 foot wakes out there. That's pretty big. 3.5 foot on a nice calm day, 3.5 foot waves. But as they get towards the Ambassador Bridge, that's the most dangerous part of the channel. Everybody knows that if you're an avid boater.
The bridge, dangerous, always dangerous. Heavy duty undertows, waves.
Many people have died under there.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a house pleasure craft pontoon.
And it's hard to believe that the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel runs right underneath that river.
Exactly, right where I was, the Renaissance Center. I took that path from the big flag.
Yeah.
Across. That's the way it runs, right under there.
Yep. And that was a marvel of engineering, still is. Like, what an incredible thing to build a tunnel for traffic, like a traffic tunnel right underneath the Detroit River.
So if you don't know where I'm at, this is the bridge, the Ambassador Bridge to Detroit. This side of the bridge is southwest Detroit.
In the 60s, right?
And a little farther down that way is Eastport,
what's
Michigan,
that?
which is.
I think the tunnel was built
Detroit.
in the 60s.
Yeah, southwest Detroit.
No, I think it was
Dearborn.
built. Let me look it up.
Yeah, look that up.
Dearborn, Michigan.
1930.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There are a couple of videos out there that document it. There's a lot of film, old film archives showing how it was done. It's pretty incredible. They built huge sections, and then they would they sank it, right? It was pretty incredible what they did.
So that tunnel must be older than the one that goes through the English Channel, eh?
I'm not sure.
1930s. It's hard to fathom that they even had the technology back then.
Yeah.
We just came off a horse and carriage 30 years before.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, so it wasn't long after horse and carriage they made a tunnel. The Model T, the Model A. Wow. 10 years before.
Amazing, Leo.
You know what? It's a great feeling to have, Rick, just an ounce of freedom, okay? And I got that when I was in Ottawa, and I got that when I was at the bridge, okay? When people were mixing and mingling, and just an ounce. It wasn't much, okay? 6 days, 7 days in Windsor, then up in Ottawa. Just that sense of freedom, right? And that's what I get when I go out. Today I got that sense again, right? And, you got to go get it. It's not going to come to you. You got to grasp it, grab it, take it, hold it, hug it, kiss it, love it, squeeze it. Okay, it's yours. And that's freedom to me, right? Like I said, I'm in a whole different class of society when I'm out there. Because if you don't have a jet ski or a boat, you're not in that class, right? So, and there's a different law. It's maritime law, right?
That's right.
If you need help while you're out there on the water, okay, I was pulled over. The last boat I had was a 25-foot bayliner about 5 years ago. My neighbor said, "Take me out," old guy, right? "Take me out." So I'm going to take it out now, take it for a test ride, right? So I took him out, and not even 20 minutes after I was on the water, the RCMP were all over me underneath the bridge, right? Actually, I was where the big flags were. And they said, "Don't shut off the motor." So I didn't shut off the motor. They boarded the vessel, checked, searched, everything came out. Now, I had my boater's license, right? And one of the questions on it were how much rope you should have, right, for anchor line.
Yeah.
And the officer goes, "How much anchor line do you have?" So I just bullshitted.
1,000 feet. And he laughed, right? There ain't 1,000 feet of rope on the boat, but it was a good guess, right? So he didn't give me no fines. But in the meantime, while they were on my boat and my motors were started, I picked up some garbage, plastic bag. And the way a boat is, the intake's underneath the boat. It picked it up on the intake. Well, I didn't know, right? Till the cops exited the boat and I took off. And my daughter says, Dad, the boat's on fire, because I'm going and the wind's blowing behind me. And I looked and went, holy shit, the smoke, right? So I shut it down and I'm about dead center in the shipping channel underneath the bridge. So my daughter says, what are we going to do? I said, watch this one. So I get on my hand radio and I Mayday, right? Pan. She said, what's going to happen? I said, get your phone ready, because this is going to be a good video. She said, why? I said, you're going to see the rat holes. She said, what do you mean rat holes? It's what I call rat holes, where the cops are. And I know where the rat holes are, right? You should have seen the action, Rick, that came to my boat for rescue. They came from the RCMP, the Windsor PD, the LaSalle PD, the Macomb County Sheriff's Department. They were and they were there in less than probably a minute and a half, right? The rat holes just opened up since I made it was funny, right? So then the RCMP come back. It's the same RCMP that pulled me over. He says, what happened? I said, well, you had me pulled over. Must picked up some garbage, and so we lifted it, and all the paint was burnt off the motor and everything else. And the cop, this was a Independence Day long weekend for the Americans, and I go to a place called Crystal Bay in the Canadian waters out by Boblo Island.
Yep.
And I said, I'll be out in Crystal Bay, and the cops laughed. Said, yeah, right. So I got towed back to my marina. I went to the marine store. I bought a carburetor. I bought oil filter, new spark plugs, boom, 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 drained everything. Put it all back together. She fired up. The next day, I'm in, guess where? Crystal Bay. And the two cops that pulled me over see me on my boat, and they flew right over. And one guy was he was RCMP from France, from Paris. Because I said, he's from Montreal. I said, no, I'm from Paris, born in Paris, right? I could tell the accent. And he says, are you a marine mechanic? I said, no, I'm just an avid boater, right? And that's the nice thing about technology. It's not on boats. Okay, you don't have all the digital bullshit on a boat. You buy a little anything in the 80s and 90s. Okay, you're not going to have all the fuel injection and shit. So you can do all that shit yourself, right? And he says, man, he said, outstanding. Both cops are like, outstanding, unbelievable. Not even 20 hours before, my boat's on fire in the middle of the channel, and and the paint was burnt right off the motor, and here I am in Crystal Bay with my kids. Well, right, so I'm an avid boater, and I'll do whatever it takes, even today, right? And I wasn't going to let today waste. I did go to work yesterday, like I said. I didn't want to, but I did. I took the sour pill, and I still wound up with 66 hours at the end of the week in 5 days. So I'm happy with that. I'm not working today. Something very strange happened to me today also, too, right? My mother-in-law, who lives across the street from me, offered me her house. She said, go to the bank and give me $70,000 for my house. And it's your house. I said, you know what? Do you really want that, or do you want more? Because I'll give you more. She goes, no, $70,000 and the house is yours. And when I pass away, we'll switch it over and everything, right? So I think Monday morning I'm going to go see my bank, and I'm going to have another mortgage on top of another mortgage on top of another mortgage on top of another mortgage. So just keep working them hours. Someday I'll be able to retire and jet ski in the Gulf of Mexico or somewhere, right?
That's awesome.
That's my plan, right? But see these beautiful windows on my house?
Yeah.
Okay, they're 4x8 sheets of thermal pane, bulletproof glass, and there's a story behind these too. Also, back in when was it? 2007. I was going to get new windows put around my house, right? So no problem. I ordered them, and the contractor, Ferguson Glass, who's a big wig in this area, had the contract for the RCMP building that was being built, the new RCMP and the Canada Border Service Agency, right, to put all the glass in. Well, they always order extra glass, and at the end of the show, they had this glass, and it's like that all the way around my house. You can't see in, but I could see out, right? I could be standing behind this glass, bare balls if I wanted to, and you wouldn't even know I was bare balls, right? And it's funny, right? But it's bulletproof, and people go, you got to be joking me. I said, I paid $3,000 for all the glass around my house. To go double hung, okay, it was $15,000. So I saved a ton on my car insurance by going with my buddy over at Ferguson Glass, right? And even the police ask me when they come by because they know the glass. They work with it, right, all day long. That's what they see. Well, you can't have that on your house. And by law, you're not allowed to fortify your house. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
Right. So,
yeah.
But it is the way it is, right? So, when you're telling you that'll be a challenge. That'll be something I would take to the Supreme Court of Canada. You're going to not tell me how to live in my own damn house when people are getting shot up in the neighborhood, okay, in the city all the time, right? I don't have steel plates for my walls or any of that shit, but it is bulletproof glass, and that's just too bad. Tough titty, said the kitty. If you can have it, I can't too, right?
Yeah, well, I know they have those laws because those are directed at like biker clubhouses and things like that, and that's why they have those laws. But it does apply to residential properties, so.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for them to someday try and open up that can of worms, right? And it is what it is. When they do, like I said, that'll be a Supreme Court challenge, especially with all the crime and violence that's going on in the country right now.
Yeah.
If you got to live in a double cinder blocked house so that you're worried about getting shot or a stray bullet coming through your house and killing you, right? Well, that's your prerogative. That's your money. You do whatever you want with it at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait till they open up that. Now that I'm on Maverick talking about the bulletproof glass.
Listen, do me a favor. Just take the show solo for a moment. I'm just going to step away. I'm going to be right back. Hang on. Maybe tell people about Boblo Island. That's an interesting story, too.
I'm not only going to tell you guys about Boblo Island, I'm going to take you guys to Boblo Island on my jet ski, of course, right? But there's also the Fighting Island, Grassy Island, Boblo Island, Peach Island. I'll take you to every island that's on the in the channel, the Detroit Channel. There's even islands, I don't know the name of it. I'll get the name of it on the Michigan side of Ecorse, Michigan. There's an island out there. But I've been to all those islands, and it's there is no Fantasy Island, by the way. I've been waiting for that one, Fantasy Island, to come. There is no Fantasy Island. But there's in the Great Lake systems, we got the Sister Islands, Peely Island. There's quite a few islands. You'd have to look at the map. There's a lot of islands in the Lake Erie, Great Lake system. And same thing with Lake St. Clair. There's a few islands out that way, right? I won't go out to Lake St. Clair. I don't like Lake St. Clair. It's shallow, dirty. Well, I'm not going to say it's dirty because everything flows that way, right? It's just shallow and murky because of the sand. It kicks up all the sand, and it's not good for my jet ski if I suck in sand, right? So I stay out of Lake St. Clair. But Lake Erie, the channel, I'm going to take you guys on a tour. And I get that sense of freedom, though. But Boblo Island's a whole another animal. And the big animal about Boblo Island is it's crime-free. And I'm not joking you, it's crime-free. And the reason why it's crime-free is because it's built now all by multimillionaires, okay? And the only way to the island is if you have a boat or you take the ferry. And just not anybody could take this is as free as Canada is today. Just not anybody could take the boat over to Boblo Island and, I'm going to have a picnic. That's not the way it works there. You got to know somebody on the island to get on the island, or you're not welcome on the island, right? So it's a two-tier system. It's for the rich. It's geared for the rich. And I do know people on that island very well. I go over there, I have barbecues. I use the beach. I go to the marina. They got a nice restaurant there. I go there, I eat. I know everybody, right? Because I'm the mouth of the South, the man without a plan, the master of all disasters. And that's a luxury that I get, right? But yeah, I'll take you to Boblo Island and show you guys the rich part of southwestern Ontario. You're not going to find a place that's much richer, and you're never going to find a place, period, in Canada that's crime-free. And I'm telling you, crime-free.
What an interesting story Boblo Island is. Do you remember when that guy bought the island, was trying to save it as an amusement park, and he ended up getting in that car accident and being paralyzed?
Yeah, that was, I think his name was Orem. His last name was Orem. Yeah. They had it's a waste to see what happened to that island, because me as a kid growing up, in my first job at 15 years old, was working at the Boblo Island on the log ride. And I was fixing the log ride they called the float, right? So it was all fiberglass, the boats, okay, that the floats, we call them. Those were the lots. And that was my job, was repairing them and using fiberglass and resin and stuff like that, and grinding it down and painting them and shit like that. But at 15 years old, right, to be on that island, there was a line, and it wasn't an imaginary line. They painted a line right down the center of that island, and one side of that line said USA, and the other side said Canada, and there was no customs. Okay, you didn't have customs. The island was filled, obviously, with undercover police. You name it, all the alphabet police that were out there. They were all on that island. I know because I worked there, right? But you didn't cross any customs. People mixed, they mingled, they picnicked, they had a good time, man. And I was saddened when they took that island away and put the houses on it. Honestly, Rick, and I was on that island when it was bare. They had a restaurant on there. I had my 35-foot cabin cruiser, and the wife, my girlfriend that I'm with right now, we were on the island eating, and a guy offered me to buy 4 lots for $200,000. And this is 1990, before a house was even built, or 1994, before a house was even built on that island. And we didn't jump on it. And my wife said, we should buy this land. I said, you know what, I should. But at that time, $200,000 was really like $2 million. Okay. Something that I could have had, and I didn't jump on it. And I kicked myself in the ass for that, because each lot now goes for almost $750,000 just for the lot with nothing on it. Right. So, there is a historical part of Bobble Island that's still there. And like the barracks, there's a barracks. They can't touch it because, right, they'll never be able to touch it because it's designated historic. But Chief Tecumseh and the natives, man, if it wasn't for Bobble Island, who knows what language we'd be speaking today? English, either way, right? But that war could have went either way in a hurry, right? Instead of the way that it did. That was a strategic fighting point, and I'll show you guys why when I take my jet ski around it. Okay, why it was like that, and Amherst Point and all that stuff. Okay, General Brock and all of them. Okay, the Fort Malden. I'll take you guys on a little history tour. You'll like it. I do know a lot about the history, and well, my dogs. I do know a lot about the history of my area, right? And that's a good thing, right? Because what's the use of living if you're not going to learn, right? And learn about your history, learn about your culture, learn about it all, right? And I'll take you guys on a beautiful. I'll go right into Fort Malden with my iPhone, and I'll do some. I'll even put on not General Brock's uniform, but I will put on a red coat. Not that I want to, but I'll put on a red coat. I'd rather put on a French coat, but not the red coat. But Amherstburg was red coat, right? So that'll be an interesting story. Maybe I'll do it. I'll do it a couple. You know what? I'm due to go back there, and they have the trenches still there, the cannons mounted. Okay, and the way that the cannons are pointed, they're pointed towards where? Bobble Island. And there's a lot of sunken treasure in that area. Okay, a lot of ships with a lot of historical value to them. They're always digging something up out there. They haven't found everything.
Windsor, Detroit, what a great place. When I first moved to Windsor, I lived on Lincoln Street, about half a block from the river.
Ooh, down in the Skid Row.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a little apartment there, and like in the upstairs of a house that I rented. But I kind of liked living there. And
when was that?
When was that?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that'd be back in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
So you're up by Assumption Street in Lincoln.
Yeah, and so I would hear the people and the music on the Boblo Island Ferry, which would in the summertime go up and down the Detroit River at night.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, those were the days.
And it's funny you're mentioning Boblo, because I started out my video on today before I went for the swim of the Boblo docks in Detroit, and they're taking them down. The building that says Boblo on it on the U.S. side.
Really?
They're demolishing it. And I did a video of that too, because that's a historic site from our
Right? I've always seen that there, right? And they're about a quarter of the way done demolitioning it, right? So, and I took another video of the Herb Gray Bridge, the bridge to nowhere. You know, if this was Vancouver, Rick, I seen the Port Mann Bridge being built. Took 3 years to build it. We've been on this bridge now, and the money's been cut since 2008. Okay, and they're not even spanning across that river yet. It looks the same as it did 2 years ago. And there was billions of dollars allocated to this project. Okay, and it's the bridge to nowhere. Like if this was Vancouver, that bridge would have been done in a year and a half across the Fraser River, and the Fraser's wider than the Detroit River. I don't get it. You know, I don't get it at all. That's bureaucracy for you at its finest, right?
Yeah.
You know,
the other thing that was interesting when I first moved to town, it really was like Sin City. There were strip clubs all over the place, limousines. It was like, Sin City. And that was because largely the difference in the drinking age, right?
Yes.
So you had all kinds of bars.
21 in Michigan, 21 in Michigan, 19 in Canada. So Oled Avenue, which is the main drag, and that's where the big flag is. Okay, there was more bars on that street per capita than anywhere else in Canada. Okay, and I know a lot of bar owners that struck it rich back in the 80s and 90s. Now, if you wanted to get into a fist fight any time of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that was the place to go. Okay, because the Americans would come over, and it was Canada versus USA every night of the week, right? I seen some pretty big street brawls going on down there, and the police are so relaxed down there now because you don't have that bar scene. The Americans didn't flock over here like they did. We don't have the problems that we had that come with that, right? Yeah, it was the Tijuana of the North, and that's no lie, right? There's a lot of drugs, a lot of drug running back in the 90s. Predominantly, it was the crack cocaine era, 89, 90, 91, right? And that seemed to take over the downtown core. So a lot of the bars have been shuttered. Okay, there's still a few bars open, but I don't go down there much at all. You know, if I was to open up a bar, it would be down there. I'd call it McStabby's Irish Pub. McStabby's. If you want to get a knife in the back, come on down to McStabby's. Okay, you'll get your corned beef and cabbage and a knife in the back at McStabby's. I guarantee it. Right? That's the reason I don't go downtown. It's very violent downtown. I live south of downtown, south of Tecumseh. Actually, Antony. I could probably see her house straight here if I stood up on my porch. But we're close. One sec, Rick.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, you got the violence that happened downtown Windsor in the 80s and the 90s was unheard of. I think 89 there was what do we have? 19 or 20 homicides in a town that was under 200,000 people.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a crazy number, and at that time it was scary times for me because out of the 20 people, I knew them all, and I knew probably 18 of the ones that did the murders. Right, so it was like something you'd see in Narcos Mexico, that Netflix documentary. Right, it was people killing people. Nobody cared for life. I'll tell you, life was very cheap in this town once upon a time. Right.
Oh, I covered there was a lot of news. There was a lot of news. No shortage back in those days.
Oh yeah. You just said the wrong thing. Somebody pull out a gun and blow your head off, right? So they used to call us Little Detroit, right? Because we had that mentality here for years, and it's still here. That mentality. Don't get me wrong. You bark up the wrong tree, you're gonna get a big bite, right? So you just treat people with respect. That's how I go. You treat me with respect, I treat you with respect back, right? Now you get a lot of jerks, a lot of people with social media and the reality. Oh, you got people taking jabs at you here and there, and you know about it. You get your jabs. You've taken more shots or you've taken more hits than 89X radio music. Okay, just throw it underneath the bus. That's what I do. I don't weigh anything to it, right? Because I've heard people, oh, when I see you, I'm gonna beat your ass. Well, we'll see about that. And when I do see them, who's walking across the street to the other curb, to the other sidewalk? It's not me. right? So you got a lot of telephone tough guys and keyboard warriors out there. Shit that we didn't have in the 90s, in the 80s, because we didn't have it.
Yeah.
You know, we have, like you said, Pong,
Yeah.
ping pong, ping pong.
Yeah.
Yeah, now everybody's got this social media tool in their back pocket. And, oh, I want to fight. Okay, well, let's meet at the park. Well, next thing you know, you got 300 people meeting on one side of the park and 400 people on the other because of social media. We're all going to fight, right? That's how fast it was. I'm gonna call up my crew. It took you 3 hours before to make all the phone calls. Oh, he's not home. Oh shit, I gotta wait for him. Right? With social media, it's like, oh, I need to call somebody. You're right there, right? I want Rick Walker to come and back me up. Here you go. Bang. That's fast, right? So that's the bad thing about technology today, right? Use it good, man. I'm trying anyways, right? You know, what can you do at the end of the day, Rick? Go jet skiing. Sense of freedom. Oh, by the way, that jet ski I got, it's a little older model. It's 2000 GTX limited edition. Now, I've had the 2017 Yamaha Wave Runner. I had 7 of them last year at this time, right? 7 jet skis. Wave Runner. Yeah. Yeah, it was insane. So that one there, the GTX, was one of the older of the ones that I had, but I put a new motor in it because that year they came with an oil pump, injected, oil injected, and it's a true 2-stroke. Well, what happens is when the oil pump goes, you're not getting oil to the motor, you blow the motor. So I bought a brand new crate motor for that thing last year, and it was tough to find for Bombardier for that year. Put it in, I had a marine mechanic do it, he put it in, boom, 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 pulled the oil pump out. Now I mix the oil and the gas on shore, and I put it in, so I'll never blow that motor in there, but it's a true 960, or we call it 1000 cc, right? It's tough to find that one, right? And I really like it, and I know, because you know what, I put a lot of money into it. I know what I have. Like, I go out and buy a brand new one. You don't know what you're getting nowadays, right? So I really like that machine, and that machine's been pretty faithful to me, right? At the end of the day. You got to try it. You ever been on one?
I've never been on a jet ski. Nope.
Come on down to Windsor, man. Anytime. Hey, I'll take the day off of work. I'll take you to Boblo Island. How about you do the show from Boblo Island? Donnie Chalinas, he's probably watching this right now. He's got 2 brand new ones. He offered me, I think, well, they're not new, but one's 2018. He wanted $14,000 or $15,000 for it, and I want to buy it, but I think I'm going to buy a house on Monday, so I'm not going to buy that. But he lends me mine. He lends me his. He takes his. You could take my GTX for a spin, Rick. You will have a blast. I'm telling you.
Might just do something like that. Yeah.
You can't tip this one. Okay. You can't. This one's made for the ocean. Really. This Wave Runner that I had, the Yamaha Wave Runner, was bigger than this. And I've tried to flip them. Believe me, those 3.5-foot waves out there. Yeah. No, you're not flipping them. You'll get pushed off by the waves, but you're not flipping these. You know, there's ones, the trickster ones, like BMX bicycles, right? There's trickster ones you could do, right? And you could do backflips, all kinds of shit. Not these ones. These ones are like Cadillacs. Okay, come on down. We'll take you for a spin.
Closest I ever came to something like that was my dad had a Sports Pal canoe with like a flat back. You could mount a motor on the back of it.
Yeah.
And I put a small little, I don't know what horsepower it was, maybe a 4-horse motor on the back or something. And down at Long Point where my dad has a place there, and that thing just would fly, you know.
Right.
You go all through there in the not right out in the bay, in Long Point Bay, but all around the edges, and sort of like almost like swampland, right? And go bass fishing back there, and that canoe would just fly all around through there.
You know how nice of a guy I am, Rick? You know, I'm not bragging or anything, right? I just like to do nice things for people. You know, I can't run my day. My day don't go good if I don't do a good thing for somebody else, right? And that's just the way my day starts off. With my jet skis, okay, dual trailers, I would put them all down at the riverfront. Okay, 7 of them. I only need 1. And I take turns. Boom, boom, boom. I'm down there a couple years ago, and I see
Guy, I said, where are you from? He says, Congo. And he's looking at me. I could tell he really wants to go on one of these things. I said, can you swim? He goes, yeah, I can swim. Well, you need a license, but you know what? Here's the keys. Here's a life jacket. Really? I said, yeah, go for a spin. Let's go. Right? Another guy, you ever been on one? No. And I just handed out the keys, right? I didn't charge anybody for gas. I said, let's go for a ride, right? And I was filming them, right? And we were going, man, that's pretty nice, Leo. But that's what I do, right? I see somebody down there in their dock, and I've never been on one. Last year, I go to a beach, and a guy and his girlfriend are on the beach. The only two on the beach. I beach it. I'm walking around. I have a cigarette. He says, I've never been on one of them. I threw him the keys. I said, here, go for. Well, you trust me? I said, well, your girlfriend's right here. You trust me? Right? There you go. Go for a spin. Really? I said, yeah. They took it for a spin, and he was like, fuck, I'm going to buy one. I said, that's what everybody says. That's all it took for me was in Grand Bend one weekend, and I rented one. It cost me $250 for the hour. I said, $250 for the hour. I came home, and I just started buying them up as I could see. And then before the pandemic happened, you couldn't find them, Rick. You couldn't find a jet ski. The pandemic happened. Nobody was selling their jet skis. I know why. Because you know what, you could lock me down, but you weren't locking me down on the water, right? So you could say, oh, you got this social distancing and all that crap, right? Right from the get-go, I was in Detroit, and I was filming what was going on the waterfront in Detroit. People were not wearing diapers. People were congregating, okay? They were still having their parties on the water, okay, with bands and everything else. And I would skate back over to Canada, and our waterfront was dead. And we have one of probably the top 3, I will put it, in Canada for nicest waterfronts.
Yeah.
Okay, Toronto Harbor's nice. Vancouver's got probably the best one in the country. Next, it's a toss-up between Toronto and the Detroit waterfront.
Yep.
Right, so... And there was nobody on our waterfront. It was dead. It was eerie. That's what it was. Very eerie. And as I go to Detroit and see people mixing and mingling, it's like, well, really, bands playing, they're having their concerts on the water, and come over to Canada and it's dead. There's no tourism. There's nothing. It was sick, buddy, sick. And people were going, oh man, you're so lucky. Come and grab one of my jet skis. Yeah, I don't care. And you could be lucky too. I can't believe the police ain't bugging you. What are they going to do, really? Shoot me in the back? I'm not doing anything wrong, right? And that's another thing about maritime law. If you got a fast enough machine, all you got to do is hit the shore and jump off. They can't come and get you. You're on your soil, right? So that's the trick also, if it ever comes down to that. So you got to have loopholes for everything, right? But no, I will take you if you want to go. Come and book a day. Bring your phone. You're going to film it. Bob Blue Island. I'll take you over to another like-minded fella named Warren who lives on the island. Okay, he's part of the freedom movement. Not so much with the Ottawa bullshit and all that stuff, but he's on our side. Born in South Africa. When he came across from South Africa, him and his wife, they're from a place called Pretoria, and there's a place called Victoria Lake there, Victoria Falls, Pretoria. Okay,
Victoria, yeah.
Pretoria. They're a white family that were run out of Pretoria, and when he got here with his wife, they had nowhere to go, and I let them live on my boat for the summer. They said, well, where are you going? I said, I'm going to jail. And I went to jail for the summer, and they lived on my boat. And now they live on Bob Blue Island. And when I go over there, it's always I gotta go get something to eat at the restaurant. Oh no, you don't. What do you want to eat? And they break out, you name it. You name it. You like seafood, lobster, crab tails, oysters. They just break it out. They feed me really well when I'm over there, right? So you'll get to meet Warren because he lives on the island, and now you have a reason to be on the island.
That sounds pretty awesome.
You got to come, Rick. You got to come. Really do. So,
well, sir, I am glad that you enjoyed a day of freedom.
Get it, like I said. It's not for free. Obviously, it cost me some gas money and my machine, but get it while you can, however you can. Taste it. Today was a great day. You could call it whatever you want. Like I said, El Nino. Don't give me that shit. 1982. I remember living on a farm out Anderton Township, which is in between Windsor and Amherstburg. and the snow drifts on our barn were 8 feet tall. We were jumping off our barns. I was only 12 years old into the snow drifts. Okay, the snow was that high. I remember in 1989. I think it was New Year's Day. No T-shirt on, bareback, in shorts, with snow on the ground, playing football. Okay, so they can call it whatever they want. This has been going on. Take it while you can. The weather's beautiful. I'm not buying your carbon bullshit, and I'm not gonna write the woke society. Like I said, hey, there was nobody woke out there on the water today. Nobody. You know, you see a lot of good people fishing, having fun.
Can I ask you this before we sign off with you? And I know we've lost our light with you, so you're kind of in darkness there. I keep getting bombarded with these chemtrail videos. What's your view on chemtrails? There's this one video here today where the guy is talking about. Well, I have the answer to this question that he asks, but I'll tell you, I'll run this video. I don't know if you can see it very well on your phone.
Yep.
And then you comment on this, okay?
Right.
Okay. Please explain this. 2 planes, looks like similar height. One's going a little bit faster. In fact, one with no trail is going faster. One with a trail, massive fucking trail. Other one, no trail. Come on. Explain it, motherfuckers. Please. You can't, can you? Well, you can, because it's a chemtrail. Okay. Please explain this. 2 planes, looks like similar height. One's going a little bit faster.
So, could you see that?
Yes. Okay.
So what do you think?
I've been hearing a lot of shit about chemtrails for the last 20 years. Okay, conspiracy theorists out there, they're putting something in the air to make people assertive, passive, or aggressive. Okay, whatever the mood is for the day. All that is exhaust from, you want to travel at speeds of 1,000 miles an hour or 700 miles an hour. You're going to leave a trail. It's called cutting. Okay. What that is there is the exhaust from what you're burning. Plain and simple. I don't believe in chemtrails, not for a second. I don't. So
I have the explanation to that video, right?
Yep.
If you look very closely, the one at the bottom, that is clearly at a lower altitude. The plane is clearly larger. Objects that are closer appear to be larger. So it's clearly larger. It's probably double, maybe 2.5 or 3 times the size of the actual plane that's above it, which is clearly at a much higher altitude, probably closer to 40,000 feet. The contrails are exactly that. It's vapor, because it's a mixture of exhaust and vapor, because super cold is about minus 40 degrees, goes into the jet engine, it's superheated to, I don't know what the temperature is, and then it creates basically condensation, and the jet fuel is exhausted out the back, and it forms ice crystals and basically steam that then stays in the atmosphere and doesn't melt because it's minus 40 outside.
Well,
so
it was like when I was in Ottawa protesting last year. Okay, it was minus 28, minus 30 outside. You breathe. What's that? Is that a chemtrail? No. Okay, that's condensation hitting cold air, warm air from the body hitting cold air fast, and that's what you have, right? So imagine at what are they flying at, 40,000 feet high? What it's like up there? Well, I could tell you what it's like up there. It's very cold up there, and what you just, the engine's burning, okay, letting off the heat, and this is what you're getting, right? So I don't believe in chemtrails. I don't believe. I believe that the government's dirty, but they're not that dirty.
Yeah.
Right.
Not to say that maybe at some point the CIA sprayed people with crap from airplanes. I wouldn't doubt that, but
in Vietnam, they used Agent Orange.
Yes.
Right. They used Agent Orange in Vietnam, and what that was a defoliager. Okay, and they sprayed with helicopters and planes to kill the foliage, so that the American soldiers could try and get through the jungle a lot easier, right? And little did they know they were spraying it on their own people. And 20 years later, not even 20 years later, a lot of soldiers were killed by cancer that was caused by Agent Orange, right? So
terrible. Yeah.
So I do know a couple of things.
Yep. You do that, sir. Well, listen, Leo, we'll sign off. Thank you so much for sharing the video and the stories and the tales of Windsor and commenting on the contrails and all of that. This has been a great conversation.
And like I said, when you're ready, Rick, you let me know, and I'll let Donnie Jelinas know. It'd be an honor for you to come with me, Donnie, and you to Boblo Island, and you could do your own show at Boblo Island, right?
I think that'd make a great day and great content, great history to share with people. Good stories. We can look at the past and look at what the future holds too. And it's a great part of Canada and the U.S.
Right on. And everybody out there, keep donating to the cause, right? And that's the cause to keep Rick going with the phone lines and everything else. Okay. I know personally, I do know Rick's probably paying out of his own pocket, and he's retired, and he probably wasn't expecting to play this. But in order to get to the top, comes challenges, and that's one of the biggest challenges right now for Rick. So donate to the channel, guys. I try my best. Thanks, Rick. Bye, Mavericks. Bye, Mavericks. You guys are the best.
Thank you, sir. We shall talk again soon.
Yes, sir.
Thanks again. All right, let's take a break, folks, and I'll be right back, and we'll get the phone lines set up.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, but not for long, because I'm going to run this promo, video, transition, whatever you want to call it, so you know what number to call, because the phone lines are open.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
So just before we move on to the phones, just to further explain on that contrail video, the guy who posted it's like, prove me wrong, explain it. You can't. Yes, I can. That plane at the bottom is at a lower altitude. You can clearly see it appears to be much larger than the plane that's above it. And that means because it's at a lower altitude, the temperature is warmer. And because the temperature is warmer, you do not get the formation of vapor, the ice crystals trailing behind the aircraft, which remain suspended in the atmosphere because they are basically ice crystals and they don't melt because it's like minus 40 degrees up there. It's really, 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 really cold higher up. But at the lower altitude, it isn't that cold, so you don't get the vapor trail. And that is the truth. And if he's sitting there trying to tell you that they're at the same altitude, but they're obviously not. So that is why that is happening. And if anything, that debunks the whole chemtrail thing, because why isn't the other one spewing out the crap underneath it? Why? Because it's exactly what I said. That's why. It's just that simple. Let's bring up the phones here, folks. We're ready to rock and roll. And maybe you've got a different view on these chemtrails, and you're welcome to share your views on that if you want. First up tonight, here is, I believe it's Bob. How are you tonight?
Oh, hi, Rick. I'm doing fine, thanks.
Excellent.
Yeah, that little spot there below that jet flying along, might be Leo on his jet ski. I don't know. But that aside, I have a question to ask you about when I was looking you up today to just see what you were talking about today. I noticed a great big picture on the TV screen that YouTube put up saying this broadcast is inappropriate or offensive. And I thought, what? Why in the world would YouTube put up that for an open discussion on anything? Like, I just don't, what's that about? You're aware of that, aren't you?
Was that on our channel?
Yeah, on Maverick Media. It had a little thing like you have for FaceTiming, and they put it up there that this program, it said this broadcast is inappropriate or offensive.
Oh, you know what? I think you might be misreading it. It was, I think what you were looking at, and maybe I have it here. I put that up. This.
Oh.
I put this up. It says this broadcast will be cut from YouTube at 10 a.m. due to censorship. Is that the one?
Nope. Nope, not at all. I wrote it down word for word. It said this broadcast is inappropriate or offensive, and then it went a little bit on beyond that, and I couldn't believe it. And I thought, why is YouTube throwing that up? Like, what the heck's this?
Wow, I wasn't aware that they had done that. I put that graphic up to let people know that we were going to be cut off, and that you could still watch us over on Rumble. So no, it wasn't that at all. It was YouTube put it up, and it said YouTube like right on top of it, and it was a message from YouTube. And I just thought, what the hell is that about? Like, this is nothing even to our news at 5 o'clock or something. We're just talking about anything. But anyway, I'm just letting you know, if you rewind back to about 1 o'clock this afternoon or 2 o'clock, might have been pre-recorded show you had or something. Yeah,
it's there. You'll see it.
Huh.
So anyway, that I couldn't believe that.
That is interesting.
Anyway, that's just food for thought, I guess. I thought you probably already knew about it, but I was wondering if you could explain that.
Was not aware. Was not aware. Did not.
Okay, not to give you a scare or anything. I didn't make it up. But yeah. Let's talk about Leo's comments for a sec there, if you're okay with that great big flag that came down on you there. You want to talk about a few things he said?
If you want to, you can comment.
Yeah, hopefully you can answer some of this stuff, because I've never seen Leo, what is he, the big mouth of the north?
The mouth of the south. Yeah, the man without a brain, the master of all disaster.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
He said he almost, what was this? He said I-68, what's that? Like, and then he said something about if you touch shore, I get an I-68. I don't know what that means. It's like, I'm not a jet skier or something, but I just thought you might know what that's about. Like,
it's a landing permit for if you're out boating, right? And so there are certain laws that apply that's why he's referring to maritime law, because when you're in the Detroit River, you're sort of in international waters there, if I understand it correctly. And I may make a mistake here. I may not be well-versed enough, but the Canadian authorities, the US authorities, they have, like, the jurisdiction is different there. So it's not Canadian law or US law. It's more international or maritime law. So it's the same laws that apply if you're out like in the middle of the ocean and two vessels meet, there are certain maritime laws that apply.
Yeah, usually 200 miles offshore or something like that. But I guess that's a close border thing with that river. So okay, I understand that now.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification of that.
Yeah, and I don't.
The other thing I wanted.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and I kind of wish Leo elaborated a little bit on his arthritis thing about this cold water helps his arthritis. Didn't actually see him go swimming, but he said that's natural therapy and all that, and yet he he's getting his medication over the counter and all this and that. Like, I don't know if cold water is really good for arthritis. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just thinking.
Well,
when it rains
know
out,
that it will. It is like a stimulant for your circulation. So your blood flow is
called shock
by stuff.
attack.
Yeah, so that's why people do that, and I believe that. I mean, the temperature, the sudden temperature change, dilation of blood vessels, all of that stuff, man. So, I mean, if you jumping into water at 50 degrees doesn't wake you up, then you are dead.
Yeah, it's one of the two things. You're awake or you're not. Yeah, for sure. Now, Leo, the other thing Leo mentioned, I wish he was on here to kind of defend himself a little bit, but he said problems in city and, I go out on the water, I'm feeling great, I get away from all that.
Yeah. I'm
kind of wondering, hey, Leo, you have all these jet skis. We call them sea-doos, by the way. But anyway, he runs off in the water, violating that. What is that? Well, he didn't violate I-68, but I wrote that I-68 down there. But why didn't he just hang around the city a bit and try to fix something up? Like, what's he running away from? Anyway,
I don't think Leo was running away from anything. I think he was just enjoying his day and just enjoying a little bit of freedom the way he wants to enjoy freedom. He wasn't running away from anything. And if anybody is trying to fix something, I would argue, and I'll defend him all day long. I think he does try to fix things, and I think he has a very positive voice. And even just in the social media posts he makes, I think he's just a very positive guy all the way around, and does good things. So I don't think he was running away.
No, that's great. No, I'm not. I was just questioning. That was a question for him, really. I'm not trying to knock him or anything, but a little weird statistic is you guys are talking about Windsor in southern Ontario. Did you know that there is a town, any town you want to pick, in the tip of northern California that's further north than the southernmost point of Ontario? Did you know that? You can Google that.
Well, Ontario goes pretty far south. In fact, Windsor.
Oh, okay. So I didn't surprise you there.
You bet you did.
Oh, okay. I just thought.
Because if you look at a map, if you really look at it, Windsor wraps underneath. Detroit comes up over top. Detroit of Windsor.
Well, I'm from the West. I wouldn't know that kind of stuff.
Well, it's just,
although I do know the channel. Oh, no, go ahead, Rick. I want to be
and
educated
actually,
on
then
that
there's Peely Island as well, which is out in the middle of Lake Erie, and it's even further south than that. And so, yeah.
Wow.
California is actually, if you look at a map and then you draw a straight line across, it's sort of at the same latitude as Southern Ontario. So Southern Ontario is pretty far south in the relative scheme of things in that way, but Western Canada is kind of tucked way up. To get to the same latitude as, say, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, from where I live, it's a long drive. It's a long drive. You're probably looking at 8 to 10 hours to get up that high. That's like Northern Ontario, man.
Yeah, holy man. Yeah, okay. Well, I should look at my map a little bit.
Yeah, go look. Think about places like Minnesota and locations like that. Like, Even northern Michigan is like way further north than I am right here. I'm in the sun parlor, baby, and so is Leo. Leo's even further south than I am. Way down there, tucked down there in the Motor City, Windsor.
Yeah, that's right on. Now, Leo, I wish he was here because I had a question about that $70,000 home there. I was wondering if maybe if his mom-in-law there would advertise that thing, I might throw a bid in on him ahead of him there.
I think he's going to beat you to the punch. I think it's off the market. And that's a steal, boy. That's a gift is what that is.
Yeah, it sounds like. Yeah, that's why I wrote that. 70K, where is that place?
I'll tell you though, Leo, you've seen here on this show, that guy works harder than just about anybody I know. He consistently out there working like 60, 70 hours a week. He said
70 to 80.
Yes. Actually. Wow. Like, yeah. So, you know, he deserves everything he has because he works very, very hard for it.
I mean, he's got plenty of time to ride that Sea-Doo, well, jet ski, he calls it. It's
I don't know that he does. I think he just makes the most of his time. I think that he knows how to manage his time. And there you have him riding his jet ski today. You know, very few people actually know how to manage their time. But he seems to do a pretty good job of that.
He's doing all right. I mean, he's in 2 countries in the same day. I don't know what he's up to. I'm just kidding. That was just a joke.
Well, that's the beauty of living down there in Windsor, Detroit, is it's you're right on the border. And I'll tell you, like times are so different now. I remember when you used to be able to just drive over the border, show your driver's license, and keep on going when you got to the border. And the same thing when you came back. Now, it's a different deal, man.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I'm from Vancouver originally. I live in the NWT, but yeah, you used to just get waved through. You're from Canada, just drive on through. You know, no problems whatsoever. But those days are long gone, I guess.
Well, you know, they were tightening things up. You know, even before 9/11, but then after 9/11, the whole world changed. The border certainly changed. Huge security. Everybody's under surveillance all the time. You know, talk about a police state. That's where it all started, really, in a really heavy way. It was after 9/11. Makes you really wonder. You know, makes you wonder what was the true motivation behind whoever was responsible for that. Things have never gotten. We'll never get back to the way it was. I so long for those old days when we really had a lot more freedom.
Well, you know, Rick, I'll agree with you. We did have a lot more freedom inside our minds, but I'm not so sure how free we really were. You know, that's debatable. That's a whole nother subject. It's just things are more exposed today. They're getting caught. Not getting caught, but I mean, blatant, outright lying about anything. We could be staring at the sky, both of us, and say it's blue, and I could go on the radio and tell everybody it was black that day. It was like outer space darkness at noon. Trust me, I'd have a following that believed it. That's how bad it is. And the person that says it knows they're lying, but that's where the world's at right now.
Say that again, because you've really piqued my interest with that. Say that again. I just want to really hear what you had to say. So make sure that I heard you correctly, because this kind of reflects or echoes what I said last night, I think.
Yeah, well, I said if we both looked at the sky and it's a beautiful sunny day and it's pure blue, and we're sitting together looking at it, you would say it's blue, which it is, and I could say it's black, which it isn't, and I could convince people, if I had enough audience, to believe me that the sky was jet black at 12 noon, you know?
Yeah.
So in other words, you can blatantly put out there, not you, but anyone, especially politicians, I guess is what we're talking about, can say anything and they'll get the people that will hang on to it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, indifferent, whatever.
Thank you for saying that. I was afraid that I was one of the only ones out there who was really clued into that. That's
No, I
so
think
true.
a lot of people are.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to sit down and argue with you. And you, me, everyone wants to argue about what's really true, what's not true, politics or anything. And it's just, you know, we're just sitting around going, what is this world coming to? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, you understand this, so I don't even have to elaborate on this. It's just crazy. But a lot of people don't get it.
I'm actually worried about it. I probably shouldn't worry as much about it as I do, but it's because I'm sitting here every night and I'm part of this information war, if you want to call it that.
Right.
And I'm seeing it, you know, I'm concerned honestly about the mental health of people in general. I think that people are suffering because of exactly what you're talking about. There are people out there who are intentionally shoveling this kind of false information out there on purpose to pull people into these false realities. And some people are really following it, and it's scaring me. It's turning people's minds inside out. It's bizarre.
Rick, I don't think you should dwell on it inside your mind so much, because it is the way it is. Not any one person's going to change it. It's pendulums swung all the way to the extreme crazy world we're in right now.
Yeah.
And there's still a pile of people that see all this stuff, and, you know, it'll come back, hopefully to the middle somewhere, not to the extreme anywhere. It will. It's just, I think people went through this before. I don't think we're the first ones. Different countries have definitely gone through this in the years gone by. I mean, look at Hitler. He brought Germany out of a recession. People thought he was the greatest guy since cornflakes, and then he put the world into World War II. He brought Germany out of a great recession. Stuff like that. It's just crazy. What you just don't know which way the little ball's going to bounce. You know, and people just have to be aware of it. Most people just take things that surface, you know, value, whatever that is. But no, they got to scratch a little, and you'll see what's under that.
The reason I worry about it so much is because I think this social media is being used as a very powerful psychological tool in order to manipulate people on all sides. And people who are being manipulated in such a way that they think they're not manipulated, but the other people are. So they can't see their own manipulation. It's scary.
Look what they did. Look what YouTube did to your own program. They threw up a little flyer thing right on the screen.
Yeah.
Doing what they did. And I think you brought this up a week or two ago about try to find us on YouTube. And I don't want to speak for you, Rick, but I'm just saying they're out there doing their little thing. Okay, well, now some people are going to look at that and say, well, kids, we can't watch this tonight. It might be offensive. It might be inappropriate. Like, what the heck is that about?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I think it goes
somebody's watching your show.
It goes way beyond that, though. It goes way beyond that. It really does. I'm certain of that.
I'd like to, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Rick, I mean, I'm just saying that was up there, and it was totally, they should put that up when we watch our real national news, as bad as CBC is
right.
for programming.
Yep.
They should say this might be inappropriate, this might scare your kids. Why don't they put that up? Like, for that, we're just having a conversation, or everybody that you're talking to, it's just a conversation. We're just giving our opinion. We're not out there doing anything. We're just
Well,
you know, voicing their view.
What truly bends my mind is that people were told in the beginning of the pandemic, you know, a lot of different information that kept changing. They kept changing, you know, especially the reporting or the declarations they were making about the Kool-Aid, right? How effective the Kool-Aid was going to be and how great the Kool-Aid was. And you just do the Kool-Aid and nothing bad will ever happen to you. And if you get the Kool-Aid, then of course you'll never get sick because the Kool-Aid's so good for you. And it's got an efficacy of like 95 to 97% because the Kool-Aid tastes so great. But then over time, it changed. Like they kept changing it. Oh, well, now you have to get more Kool-Aid because, you know, it's not, the effectiveness of it wanes over time. You have to get more Kool-Aid and more Kool-Aid. And then well, we know people are, you know, still getting infected, even though they get the Kool-Aid, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then just more and more excuses. And still to this day, so many people, I would say even the majority, still believe that the Kool-Aid tastes great and you got to get more.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I bought into that too. I had like 3 regular shots and a booster shot. And I thought, man, boy, they're ever looking out for me. I'll live to 100 and all that. But then the only little light that came on, I just have to
caution you, we're on YouTube, Facebook, so please be very careful about what you say. Just remember, we're talking about Kool-Aid, right? Kool-Aid.
Yeah, right. They might think we're, what's his name? Timothy Leary or somebody.
Yeah, well, otherwise, yeah, right. Yeah. The electric Kool-Aid acid test.
Yeah. You can't say that, I bet. But getting back to the light switch that came on in my head when I had these vaccinations, I thought the government's really looking out for me. And then I was watching a TV show about face masks and how you must wear them and protect yourself and everybody else in case you have a bug in there. Somebody said on TV said, you know, that little tiny virus, that microscopic little sneeze that's flying through the air can sneak through that mask anyway. So, I mean, that's all you need, really. But any little bug to get into your system. But I believe in the freedom of doing whatever. But, you know, but I do want to throw in one thing about the mask thing.
Again, please be super duper careful here because I'll have to take the video down if you say just one wrong thing.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're on YouTube and Facebook. If you talk about it, it comes down, man.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll get off that subject. No, yeah, let's just skip that then. Thanks for warning me. I didn't know we were censored that badly.
Oh, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I guess people.
It's pretty.
Hey, let's just switch the subject. I wanna say I love Ted Nugent.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's guitar playing is way underestimated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know why I'm thinking of him, but I was listening to him last night. Yeah, anyway, I don't know if you know who Ted Nugent is.
I know exactly who Ted Nugent is. I've seen Ted Nugent. I watched some of his videos. He's a conservative. I guess you would call him a patriot. And his blues-based guitar is, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's unreal. Yeah, he's unreal. Absolutely unreal. I love that guy's guitar playing. He's a little bit out there. Actually, I don't know if we'll get censored for this. I don't like Ted Nugent's opinion on trophy hunting.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's where he crosses the line with me. You know, he says, "Well, I'll shoot something, but I'll give the meat to the people where I shot the animal." No, that doesn't work for me. We used to run a big game outfitting company here, and we shot bison, more commonly known as buffalo.
Yeah.
We get these rich Europeans coming over here, and you just about have to carry them on our shoulders out there. These great rich people that treated us like garbage, and there's an animal, blah blah. And I shut it down. I thought, this is no way. We're not doing this anymore. They're giving the meat away, but still, that doesn't justify them to brag, have the antlers and the head on their mantelpiece. Oh, look at that animal I took down. Like that I just don't agree with that at all. That's just baloney. These are big, beautiful animals, and you know, somebody thinking he's a Tarzan going out there doing this. Basically, in the States, they do it in a corral. They herd in the buffaloes, and you just pick one, and those guys shoot them. That's just disgusting. That's just so disgusting to me. But anyway, I don't know if you're ever talked about that, but I think trophy hunting's baloney. And if Ted Nugent was here, I'd fight him all day long on that one.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what his statements on trophy hunting are. I know that he hunts, and I know that he's a big advocate for, you know, the meat that you get when you go hunting from wild animals as being healthy. So I know he talks about that,
Rick,
but I don't know about the rest.
Rick?
Yeah.
Rick, I hate to interrupt you on this, but if Ted Nugent or somebody that knows him phones you and asks for my phone number so they can sue me, defamatory comments about what I think of what he's doing, please don't give out my number, because I know you have it.
Yeah, don't worry
Please,
about that.
promise me that.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't want to get sued by him. I'll have to start working again. Like, I'm just going to retire soon, and I'll be working for 100 years to pay him because I said something out of line, because he has the money to kill me, right?
Yeah.
Like suing me.
Yeah,
So,
well, he's not going to
know,
sue. You haven't said anything defamatory. You just disagreed with him on an issue. That's Ted Nugent is not going to.
No, I said he's trophy hunting, and he might take offense to that. He might say, no, I'm sport hunting. I eat my food, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden I'm in for a lawsuit with that guy. I still like him, but if he don't give out my number, I might not like him.
Okay. I promise I won't give out your number. No problem.
Thank you, Rick. I trust you.
All right.
And,
yeah.
Oh, no, we're probably good. I think I thought I had something else to ask you though. I made a note here, like 2 bags of sugar and a bunch of potatoes and stuff. I wrote a note here. Oh, those people. I hate to go back to Leo on this, but he said something about the white people run out of Pretoria. What? Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Do you remember he said that? Well, I could not believe that he said that.
Well, I don't know why. What was it that he said that was confusing to you?
Well, contradictory of history is what he said is white people will run out of Pretoria. That place has been controlled by the English, and then the Dutch, and then whoever else, back and forth, has been all white controlled. I don't understand how white people and the little rebellions and revolts and everything else from the black South Africans was always on white people. So white people actually getting run out of South Africa anywhere is, rewriting history to me. I don't get where he's coming from on that.
Because if you look at what is going on there politically right now, everything has changed politically, and there has been, how shall I put this so that we don't get banned off YouTube? White farmers have a big problem, for instance, right now, because of the social unrest there, where their safety is not only put in jeopardy, but to an extreme level. You can find documentaries about this online. Lauren Southern's done some extensive work in that area that you might want to check out. And then you'll understand what Leo means by people being kind of run out of Pretoria and that part of South Africa. Pretoria is near Johannesburg. So right now it's, after, they ended apartheid, and I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the history of South Africa at all, but
careful, Rick. YouTube might tear you down in South Africa.
Yeah,
careful.
That's right. But you know, these are facts, and you know, Nelson Mandela and the ANC, and you know, now today, as politics has shifted the other way, there's real conflict there that the media here does not report on, because it is politically incorrect to acknowledge that these conflicts are happening over there. And this is why I worry about current government policies and the direction that we're even going here, because I think the way the government is dealing with a lot of different issues and racial things, even in our countries, Canada, the US, a lot of that same kind of unrest is coming home to roost here. And it is largely because of the way the government is changing the dynamics between social groups through legislation. And it's creating conflict. And that is exactly what has happened over in South Africa, where I would need more time to. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully in a way that's not going to get me into.
I know you are. Yeah.
So
exactly.
I should maybe address it another night when I've had more time to formulate my wording better. But that's what he's referring to. I'm certain it's not about the old history. It's not about colonialism so much. It is, but this is about the shift in everything in South Africa and why some white people have actually left South Africa.
Yep.
Right.
No, I understand, Rick, and I know you can't really get into that. And you know what? It's just amazing that you and I are, I'll just flat out say it, we're being censored to how far we can go with our opinions on an open public platform. It is unreal that we have to watch and guard our words. That's the world we're in, and now we're realizing, both of us right now, or you probably already knew it, but I'm just realizing it. I can't just give my opinion. I you know, it could jeopardize what you're doing or whatever, you know, about anything, really. I mean, we just can't go full throttle into anything because we're being listened to. Somebody might close in on it and just decide, okay, evaporate those peasants. We're done with them.
Yeah, well, you know, it doesn't do that. But listen, Bob, I'm going to get you to wrap up because we've been on for a long time, and I've got another call.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking to you, Rick. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
You betcha. Bye.
Okay, go ahead. Who do we have on the line?
Hello.
Who's this? Hi.
Oh, this is Fred. How you doing?
Well, I'm okay. How are you, Fred?
Hey, I'm doing just fine. Hey, I thought that was great. Like, that was really top line journalism there tonight with and it's right in the headlines there about our buddy most of the South roaring around the Detroit River. Like, that's a major bowel movement in the news for today.
A major what?
A major bowel movement, like the freedom movement. It's like a bowel movement. It's dead. It's finished. DOA.
You mean the freedom movement?
Come on
is dead?
now, Rick. Yeah, the freedom movement is dead, just like your show is dead, for Christ's sake. You may as well pack it up and go home. You got about 180 viewers on YouTube here today. And you can't draw an audience anywhere. You try to reach to the States, you try to reach into Canada, you're looking for the freedomers, and you're pretty well finished. Come on now, buddy. Pack it up. Walk the dog.
Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, that's pretty well it. Hey, well, except that if you lean any farther right, you're going to fall on your ass.
That's interesting. So what compelled you to call
Yeah,
in and
you
make
are.
these comments tonight?
You're pretty interesting. I think you're just terrific, man.
Uh-huh.
You make my you make my evening. You know, I just tune in here every night, and I'm so glad to see that we got all of the little ladies come on there, and they're afraid of the rainbow flag. Oh, those people are going to get us. They're leaning so far to the left. They're grooming our kids. Oh, they got a flag up at the public school. Could you imagine that? Oh, it's just so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is just tremendous. No, I think your show is great, Rick. You provide some really great live entertainment, and it's a real circus. And I wish you lots of luck. Keep bringing it on, buddy. It's tremendous.
I'm really not sure what to make of your call.
Well, I don't think you do, because you don't have anybody that phones in and ever disagrees with you. So
I wouldn't quite say
I
that.
think it's just fine. Hey, yeah.
Let's have the discussion. What would you like to discuss? What do you want to disagree with me on?
I can discuss your viewers. Like, I'll talk about YouTube right now. You got 161 viewers on there. Is that really worth keeping the shop open?
Oh, probably
if they
not.
Even sent you in a,
yeah.
No, but if everybody sent you in a buck tonight, you'd have 161 bucks for you, wouldn't you?
Well, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Because, you know, all I do is sit here and I'm just sitting here trying to rake in the dough. And do you know why some of the numbers are down right now?
I don't know. You know, Rick, I have no idea why you do what you do. It's abuse. You're abusing yourself. Take the dog for a walk, for Christ's sake.
Well, I'll certainly do that. Why do you do this?
Yeah. Why do I do what? Why do I watch you? I think you're completely entertaining. It's like comedy. It's like wide open comedy. I don't think that between your chat line and your call-in line, I have ever experienced so much hate in our country.
Oh, really?
And you just fuel it. You throw the wood on the fire.
Do I?
I know you dance around the outside of it with your information, your disinformation, your misinformation, but you lead a lot of people on, and you should be entirely ashamed of yourself because you know better.
That's a very interesting take.
You know better. Yeah, well, I mean, even your kids know better than you do. You commented on that tonight, and you put it on the table, man. You did. You put it on the table. They disagree with you. And so there we go. Do you want to comment? Come on.
Well, I'm not sure when I'm sitting here telling people to find love in their heart, you're calling up telling me that I'm saying the exact opposite.
How do you? I got love in my heart. I got lots of love in my heart. I got a lot of hope in my heart for you, that you straighten yourself out and quit lying to your audience.
What am I lying about,
You
sir?
got twisted. You got people twisted so far around that with your right-wing ding-a-ling stories that you don't have any idea where you're going. If you would get on there and just tell the truth. Give me an example of a right-wing ding-a-ling story that I've perpetuated. Well, why are you started out the evening tonight and you said that you were talking about you were going to bring stuff that was important to the floor. Okay. And then what did we get? A half an hour of Mouth of the South running around the Detroit River on a Sea-Doo.
Yeah.
I'd like to see you on a Sea-Doo. That would be a good picture there. You'd probably fall off.
I might.
Yeah, you probably would. Hey, I just got you $22 there.
Oh, well, thank you, Clyde. Do something. Appreciate that. It's entirely possible I might fall off since I've never ridden a Sea-Doo before. So, you know what happens when you fall off a Sea-Doo? You climb back on and keep on going. I guess.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of things you haven't done because you've been sitting in your basement and you got that microphone in front of you and you think you own the media.
Far from
You
that.
think you own it. Yeah, oh, come on, little girl. Put the skirt on. Wear it. Come on, you got lots of opportunity here. Comment on all the things that I said here tonight. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're attacking me on a personal level. You're not really giving me any issues to talk to you about.
Come on, Rick.
And I don't see anything but positivity in what we did with Leo. He's talking about a form of freedom, and the way he expresses his freedom and the way he enjoys his freedom.
A form of freedom.
This channel is largely about freedom, and he was out there expressing that. And then through the course of that conversation, we learned about maritime law. We learned about some of the issues.
We learned about
history,
maritime law. Yeah,
we learned about international politics.
You stray across that border on your sea-doo there, and they'll talk to you. They'll have a little discussion with you on the other side of the line there. That's what maritime law is all about. You don't know anything
I'm quite
about
certain you don't know what you're
law.
talking about, because Leo was absolutely accurate. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, I'm sure Leo was accurate for sure. This is a guy that's been convicted and spent a whole bunch of time in jail for dope-related stuff, and you're willing to believe him, right? Yeah, you follow him right down the line.
Well, I know this. He's had enough experience with the law that he's got a deeper understanding of it than most people and the system.
Oh, the most people, yes. The most people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Leo's troubles with the legal system stem from engaging in something that is basically legal now.
Come on.
But anyway, if you want to take up these issues with Leo, then you should take these issues up with Leo, so that he can talk about it, because I don't know all of the details of his past.
Yeah, so we're passing me off to Leo now, are we?
It's rudimentary at best.
Yeah.
So, but I know he's a good guy.
Okay. Yeah, pass me off to Leo. That's
well,
the
he's
best
not on here right
here.
now, but maybe we can arrange a
I know that.
Between
I'm talking to you, and we were talking. You're the one that brought up Leo about his day of freedom on the river.
Well, you brought him
didn't
up,
have anything to do with me.
Letting you know that I thought that the discussion was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, well, you go back and you listen to the conversation, and you're the one that brought him up. So there we go.
I'll have
I'm going to sign off.
Just to clarify, the YouTube channel is down quite a bit because so many people have moved over to these other platforms in the last month. That's one of the reasons you're not seeing many on YouTube. Plus, they banned a couple of our channels where we were getting a lot.
Well, you seem to be drying. It seems to be drying up here over on YouTube. I'm looking at 158 watchers here now, and I'm quite disappointed. I figured after with you reaching out to the deep south there with some of the stuff that you're doing, that you'd pull in a whole bunch of people that.
Well, I'll tell you, I do like deep south. I love Texas. I love Oklahoma. I love Florida. Some of the friendliest people I've ever met were in Tennessee, and that is a fact.
Oh, I'm sure they are. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Until you want to talk about guns and shooting people, and sure, that's fine. They're very nice people. I spent the winter in Florida, Rick, and I didn't have anybody shoot me. It was really good.
Well, I've never had anybody shoot me, and I've been all through the U.S. and never had an issue. Ever.
Well, we'll sign it off before you screw me around the corner here, and you can manage to talk me. So you keep going there, buddy. Keep the show going. I think it's just terrific. I'll try to call in later on sometime down the road there and let you know exactly what I think.
Well, that's fine. You know what? Like now you know what you've become. You've become a project for me. What I want to do is I want to win you over. I want to have more discussions with you. I want to have more discussions to engage in constructive conversation with you, so that we can
anybody that wants to support weaponizing transport trucks and parking in our nation's capital. will not be anybody that can win me over.
When did I ever
So how's that
advocate for
here?
that?
Oh, I'm sure you did. Come on now.
Quite the opposite.
Did you not support the protest in Ottawa?
I did. I did support the freedom.
Yes, you did. Sure you did.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and to get any notice that the clown boy got, the only reason they got it was they weaponized their transport trucks, brought them to downtown Ottawa when they caught the cops by surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And all they did there was blast their horns and burn off a whole bunch of diesel. And that was really cool, wasn't it, Rick?
Well, you know what? Like, it's interesting that you say that, because I am absolutely willing to entertain that perspective here. And I totally get.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
And you know what?
I'm sure you are.
I can tell. I can honestly tell that you have not really been watching this show consistently, because you have clearly missed at least a couple of months of my broadcasts where I have been calling out some of the bad actors in what people are calling the freedom movement. And some of the people who claim to be freedom fighters are really going to advocate for real freedom at all.
Rick, are you telling me that you disagree with those people that brought their transport trucks to downtown Ottawa and parked them one behind the other, and then blasted their air horns and then burnt diesel fuel all day? You're telling me that you do not support them?
I'm telling you that there were aspects of what happened there that I agreed with, and there were some
Don't
aspects
dance
of what
around
happened
it
there
here,
that I
Rick.
don't
Tell
agree
me you
with.
were either supporting them or you weren't.
At the time of the protest, I was absolutely supporting the people.
Sure you were, because you wanted to bring down the Trudeau government.
No, I did not. In fact,
sure you were.
You clearly have
sure
not
you
been
were.
listening to me at all.
Oh,
You're saying something quite the opposite.
No, I know you're all pro-election and everything else. The only way we're going to get rid of the government Trudeau government is Plan A is to get them out in an election, and Plan B is to walk up Capitol Hill and do your stuff. Okay, and I know you're on Plan A. I know that, but
I'm for
you kind of bite around the edges. And you kind of chew around the edges here, Rick, and you kind of nibble off a little bit here and there, and you kind of get people wired up. And if you read it on your chat line, and you read it on your comments, and the people that phone in, you're fueling the fire, buddy.
People can have a variety of opinions in here, and I have to respect
sure they
a variety of
can.
opinions.
That's the wonderful thing about living in Canada.
Including your opinion and your perspective.
Yes.
And this is what I've been talking about the last couple of nights.
Yes, I understand that.
You can have two people looking at the same thing and seeing it in completely different ways, and you see it in a completely different way. And I respect what you're saying. And I'll tell you this, I understand where you're coming from, because I've been on the receiving end of a lot of the aggressiveness from some of the, I would call them fake freedom fighters right here, because I've said things that have put me kind of in the middle.
Well, I would think, Rick, that what you do when you sit on the other side of that microphone is you're exposing yourself. And when you say the words coming out of your mouth, what you say, that exposes you, and then you're open for comment and you're open for opinion.
Sure, I can accept that.
If you're going to sit there on the other side of the microphone, you better be prepared that people are going to say some things that they don't agree with you.
I'm getting that right now. Apparently,
I can do the agree to disagree thing all night long if you'd like to. That's the wonderful part about living in Canada, is that we can do this thing. But you are definitely holding yourself with the minority of the people here that. And you think that you're in the right all the time. And, well, I wouldn't say that. I apologize for that. you wouldn't think that what you speak is the truth all the time, and where you twist it around a little bit. So, there we go. I'll let you go, Rick. You might let some of the other people phone in, and I can fuel you up a little bit for whatever you want. If you want me to call in again, I'll do it.
I do want you to call in again. Did you not want to talk about Ukraine and Russia? I thought that's what it said here on the.
No, that was the only reason I got on the line here.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear the pipes out a little bit there, and let about 2 weeks of frustration out of the insides go. And hey, buddy, you're the recipient.
I'm who's the recipient of what? But I didn't get the last comment. Don't understand.
It's a little bit of pent up emotion, right?
Okay.
So you know that. All righty.
Okay.
Hey, have a good night, Rick. Take care of yourself.
You too, sir. You have a good night. Okay. All right. Here's Steve, and you know what? Leo's sitting here too. Let's bring Leo in. Hey, Leo.
Wow, Mr. Rick, that old Fred Bear guy, he's something else, I'll tell you.
There too, Rick?
Hang on a second here, Steve. Let me just see if I can get everybody on the screen. I don't know if I can. I just hang on, Steve, because I've got Leo on, and I'll come over to you in a sec. Do you want to comment on that, Leo?
Yeah, the guy knows nothing about me or what I do. And, he does have a computer, obviously. If you do Google the name, it's called Leo Lucier, Windsor, Ontario. And bring your popcorn. You're going to be there for about an hour, okay? Because you're going to read all kinds of your mainstream media things about me. And there's not one bad thing in mainstream media about me, okay? As you pointed out, things were legal after I've been charged, okay?
Yeah. Lost your audio there, Leo, for a sec.
My audio? Can you hear?
You're back now. Yeah.
Yeah, so for him to say anything about me, he has no clue on what I'm about.
Sorry, are we both on, or are you?
No, I don't know. I don't think Leo won't be able to talk to you, Steve, because of the way the system is set up. There, now all three of you are on, but you two can't talk to each other because he's coming in through a different stream. But all the audience can hear it, both of you now. So,
Okay.
But anyway, good. Please continue, Leo.
Yeah, for him to say anything about me or whatever, okay? Like I said, I can't please everybody in life, okay? Obviously, they got check me out. You know what I'm about. Everybody knows I'm about. My life's an open book. I work a lot of hours, and believe me, I probably paid a lot more tax than this guy has, okay? And I can guarantee on that one, okay, I'm in a tax bracket that he doesn't wish to want to be in, and it's a tax bracket. So, and for me to enjoy the day, which I did today, you're not going to rain on my parade. I guarantee you on that one. And as for you saying, you fall off at ski, you get back on. 100%. That's what it's about. You get a little wet. Okay. I don't expect Rick Walker to pin it at 80 mile an hour. First time out. Okay. That's not going to happen. We'll be calling you Crazy Rick if you try and pull that shit, right? But you're a good man, Rick. Don't let anybody get you down. As for him to say there's only 179 people watching on YouTube, yeah, little do you know there, pal. I got 10,200 followers just on Facebook, and it's counting 200 every day that are following me on Facebook. So those people are also watching, right? So he doesn't beyond YouTube, okay, and social media.
Yeah, breaking up there again, losing your audio.
Yeah, there's a lot of platforms out there, okay, that are being used, not just YouTube. So he's just a YouTube boy, and check it out, okay? It's social media. For him to say anything, and for him to say, "Oh, I don't know what you're doing on your," well, you've been watching, obviously, this guy, so you're a fan.
Yeah, as long as you watch, it's fine. You don't have to agree. Just watch. Just watch
and like it too.
Yeah.
Get the algorithm.
Yeah.
Stop you. So get the Steve. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
No worries. Kind of curious to know what Leo had to say. I'll have to go back and give that a listen.
Yeah.
I know that I have a couple of other topics that I'd love to chat with you about, but
Sure.
We'll postpone those for another night. That caller just kind of blew me away there. I got an idea for you. You know, I have your night. I was thinking he's a regular watcher, obviously.
I'd be regular anyway. I
but
think
you probably
he's
wouldn't.
missed some of what I've tried to say because he doesn't exactly have me pegged right, but okay.
Well, yeah, I figure he isn't a close listener, but if you knew about Leo talking about his law experiences and what he got arrested for, he's been around a little while.
Yeah.
But it gives you a reason maybe to come up with like a new version of the night. You get like a dark night.
Right.
You know, and
the evil night.
yeah. Well, I didn't want to take it that far. You never know. You might convert this gentleman yet.
Well, yeah, just win him over with good conversation. We're not such bad folks around here. Not really. We try to use our superpowers for good and not evil.
Well, that's what I like to think. You might be a little right of center, but he must be pretty far left. He thinks you're about to fall over on the right. You keep it pretty balanced. I just wanted to call in and let you know we're rooting for you, and I appreciate all that you do for us. And I mean, you put in a lot of effort into it. Like, you know, how many call-in shows are there out there on the internet? I only know of one other one that I can get, you know, off the top of my head. I only know one that opens it wide open the way you do and has as many platforms running. And I can't think of any other than just one. Oh, and a shout out to Clyde. I saw him in your chat there. That's
so that was awesome. Thank you, Clyde, for tuning in. Thank you for the super chats, and great to have you over here. Yeah, pretty cool. Now there's a guy who's got a big following too, right? On social media for sure.
Yeah. It's funny. You never know who's lying silent in the background there. I never in the chat. I don't have. I can't sign into YouTube because I gave up my email. So I don't sign into much anymore. But anyway, I just wanted to call in and say that I appreciate you and tell you my Dark Knight idea. Dark Knight's probably taken by Warner Brothers or whoever that is. But I'm sure you could come up with something.
Yeah. And maybe we can get together and do a show or something with Clyde. That would be a great thing.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought of somebody you should have on recently, and it was somebody along the lines of Clyde. Maybe it even was Clyde, but that'd be interesting to see. I know what I was thinking. Yeah, he had Ernie on from Ernie Marcel and his story. That was what I was watching.
I don't think I know Ernie Marcel.
He got into covering the convoy and stuff. I thought he was in the Ottawa area. I guess he's from BC, and he had a rough go of things. I remember I didn't know the full story. I'm glad I listened to Clyde. Like, I didn't expect to watch it all, and I watched most of it because Ernie's story is so interesting. But he had a run-in with the police while he was in his RV, and he handled it well, and he's continuing to still deal with it up to now. It's an interesting story. But he, when I couldn't find someone like yourself covering it, like on the off hours, Ernie seemed to be keep for hours. Now I know why, because he's out west, I guess. But he was posting a lot of stuff during the convoy and whatnot. So that's when I found him. He's been pretty heavily censored as well, so I'm not sure what he's up to now. But anyway, I'm not giving you a pep talk. I don't think you need one, but like I said, I just wanted to let you know that obviously we're out here following you night after night because we're rooting for you and don't find your stuff offensive. I really think that guy's following you too quite a bit. So I hope your project works out for you.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Thank you, Steve.
I'll look forward to the call.
Okay, here comes Alan, all the way from BC. How are you?
Hey, I'm awesome. And how about you?
I'm okay.
All right. Well, Mr. Ernie, he's out of Kelowna, by the way. Okay. Kelowna, BC, in the valley.
Okay.
And our gentleman friend there, Mr. RV number 2.
There you go.
You are one baseless motherfucker. You have no facts for any of your fucking arguments. Sit the fuck down. Man, I can't handle stupid people. That is my Achilles heel in life. Sorry. I just had to say that.
Okay.
And
Wow.
how you doing, Mount South? Get that Sea-Doo. Woo-woo! If you can enjoy life.
I thought it was a great conversation.
And you know, well, fuck, you know what? At least he had something to talk about.
Right.
And there was basis to it.
Yeah.
Like our friend there, you know, he literally had, you know, he like I said, he's an RV number 2. RV Canada number 2. All he wanted to do was rip into you, but he had no base to do it. I don't mind whatever your conversation, whatever your argument is. Bring some facts, bring some basis, bring some substance. I'll listen to anything if there's substance.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you, Mr. RV number 2. You keep saying that's because we're in Canada. We can do that. We can agree to disagree. Well, if he doesn't decide what fucking side he's on, he's not going to be allowed to do that before long either, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I know, that's for him.
Yeah. Well,
you know, do you think he's how long does he think his freedom of speech is going to last if this crap keeps up? And if you're afraid of being afraid, little boy, then wait till you see what's really coming. The next 18 months and the banks start to go dump, watch and see what's going to start happening. Things are going to get damn ugly up in here.
Yeah.
And you know what? The media is not telling you because they don't want to see it happen any earlier than it has to.
Yeah.
The crumbling, this is called a controlled demolition. It happens on their watch, at their pace, controlled. I don't know how many times you can tell people, you know, this is another color revolution. We are just the next in line. The CIA, all these think tanks through the states and other countries, all they do is fund this shit worldwide. George Soros, he's known for this. We're just the next in line, and he's got a stoolie there leading the troops for him.
Yeah.
You know, like how many? Wake up, buddy! Don't be another RV. And if you want to have an argument, bring some facts. Damn it! I can't handle people that are just empty in the head. Sorry. And just because somebody went to jail in life, that doesn't make them a bad person. That's something Trudeau would say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at what Leo does. I mean, he works and works. He's a hardworking guy, and he comes on here and he talks about community. He, you know, he's got family values.
Getting news stories.
Yeah. He's
like footage.
Yeah.
What's our RV number 2 got for us? Just spitting, chomping at the bit. You know, like a cow chewing its cud. Just mindless.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever, man. Like
here's a quick question for the crowd though. I've never heard it asked before because I always play the devil the devil's advocate a little bit in my own space. I don't always have to make it out there, but you know, because everybody there's always somebody invading somebody, and we always know that's the state's invading somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, for right now, it's if you want to look at it good and lefty like, then I guess Russia's invading Ukraine. Mm. But nobody ever asks, what if you like the invader better than your own government? RV number 2, that's for you. Maybe you should go to Ukraine.
Yeah.
What do you do if you like the invader better?
Well,
ever ask yourself that one?
Yeah, like I said before, you know, I've stood back and I've seen the enemy, and unfortunately, you know, the bad guy, and it's us. That's right. That's what it's come down to, and we have to.
Yeah, well, our RV number 2, he doesn't want to admit that to himself.
Yeah, yeah.
You got, you know, some people, you can punch them in the mouth with it. It doesn't mean they're going to listen to you.
Yeah.
But
so
you got yourself a project, all right.
Yeah, well, I suspect it won't. Oh, here's Bob again. No, Bob, Leo's not on. Anything else you want to say there, Alan, before I move on to the next caller?
I just wanted to let you know to remember, every war has unsung heroes. And here in the Maverick family, we believe you're one of them.
Oh, well, that's kind of you to say that. I think that everybody here is doing their bit to restore the country and restore freedom. And I'm grateful for all of that. Thank you, Alan.
You and me both, sir.
Okay, sir. You have a great night. Here's
yourself as well. We'll talk again.
You bet. Here's Bob again. You wanted to... go ahead.
Thanks. Thanks, Rick, for having me back. I thought Leo was on. I had a couple of questions I really wanted to personally ask him, but that guy, Steve, I have a couple for him. I don't know. He's all basic substance, this and that. He had a question. He used to text somebody always, and he had a question for the crowd or something. My answer is what? What's the answer to the crowd? But anyway, I wish Leo was on, and he talked about paying taxes. I'd love to know how much he paid.
Well, he works a lot of hours, so I think he pays quite a bit. But anyway, that's personal for him, and I can't speak for Leo.
Well, I can speak for me, and I paid about $50,000, and I'm just an average working stiff. I'm doing all right. Obviously, I paid $50,000, but like healthcare and everything else, it goes towards probably immigrants and everybody. I'm okay with all that. I'm okay. But you know, bragging about taxes, bragging about this, that, and whatever. We're all Canadians. I don't care who comes here. We're all here. We're all a tribe, and that's the bottom line, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, you know, I can't speak for Leo. We've kind of, and this is all kind of personal stuff. Are there any issues that you want to dig into here?
That guy before, that guy that was really going after you there. Who the heck is that guy, man? Everybody's just having a little Saturday night conversation here. Like, I don't get where that guy's coming from. He has frustrations. He should lie down on a couch and talk to his doctor. You know, that we're paying for that too. That poor guy. But anyway, Rick, I'll give you your. Other people want to call in. I thought it was Leo, so I'm just.
That's okay.
Blabbering now.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on and blabber with somebody else. Thank you. Have a great night.
Right on. Okay, good night.
Okay, who do we have on the line? What do you want to blabber about?
Well, I don't know the definition of blabber, but hey, I just wanted to say hi.
Hi.
I dropped in and saw some of the long day of the NCI, and that was pretty intense. Very powerful testimonies. And I took a break because I'm in Pacific time, hey?
Yeah.
And so when you said you'd be on, I don't know. I keep mixing it up because you say Eastern time, and I thought I had time to sit down and do some practicing and stuff. And I was in the middle of playing, like I do a version of Over the Rainbow, and I was in the middle of playing that on guitar and stuff. And something told me to just, geez, you know what? Maybe you should check that Pacific Eastern time. And lo and behold, I see everybody's on and blah, blah, blah. The show is going, and you've been running for like 51 minutes. And I was like, what? Oh, well, boy, do I ever not tune in at the right time sometimes. That Pacific Eastern thing screws me up. But I got to tell you, it was a pleasant surprise to jump on a jet ski out of nowhere and just look at the blue water and be taken out of the mire for even 20 minutes. So I got to say, Leo, thank you for that. Thank you, Rick. nothing wrong with anything there that happened. It was a total pleasant surprise, and I didn't mind putting my guitar down for that. Thanks for that. That was a refreshing change.
Yeah.
And I'm going to thank Merrick Butler on the chat, because I was saying I wasn't going to call in again until I could afford to chip some money in, but I'm on a fixed income and I got vet bills ahead of me and stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to call in. Damn it. I can't, because I can't afford to. And then Merrick, bless his heart, said, well, hey, I donate every month. You go ahead and call. So thank you very much. And I just thought I'm hoping I'm going to be in the midst of all of this after Leo's joyride, that I'm adding a bit of voice of sanity and goodness and, all that good stuff. Like, I'm just slowly trying to get myself to play my guitar again and find my way through my life as an artist again. And it's been very, very challenging. But that's where I find my freedom. And, just as much as Leo finds his freedom on the skidoo, my freedom is communicating my heart through my music, and finding that back and getting that back is massive for me. And yeah, I had no problem being interrupted with a ride on skidoo. So there you go.
Well, everybody's saying they want to hear you play the guitar. Me too.
What's that?
Everybody wants to hear you play.
Oh. What, right now?
Yeah, right now. Do it.
Oh, my goodness.
Do it. Do it.
I'm no guitar player. I'm more of a singer-songwriter.
Well, singer-songwrite your way. Do it with your guitar.
Well, well, I've got a Bluetooth earpiece thingy in my ear. I don't know how that will translate. Okay, sweetheart, I can't. Come on, get down. Sorry, baby. And every time I pick up my guitar and I go to sing, my cat has to get very close to me. So sorry, I had to get him to.
Everybody's.
I don't know what it is about that.
Everybody's excited. Everybody's waiting with anticipation. We want to hear it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know how this is going to come across, because can you hear the guitar?
Yeah, we can hear it.
You can hear that?
We
Hi,
can.
baby.
It's Saturday night, and we're sitting around the campfire with you.
You're sitting around the campfire.
And you're
I can tell you though,
you're leading the sing along.
When I did this song for my boss, who was one of the richest men in Canada, and I walked into the boardroom, and because the staff were always saying, Deb's a singer or songwriter, blah blah blah, and people kind of, oh, that's nice or whatever. And his assistants, when his birthday came around, said, hey, Deb, would you be into doing a song, for Wally's birthday? And I was like, really? But nobody knows me as a singer-songwriter. I work in an office. So anyways, I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I went home, got my guitar, and I walked in. And I walked into, you got to imagine, like, say, Trump's boardroom in a off, one of these big long tables, the whole thing. You've got all the prime people from the office sitting around this table. And I walk in wearing a guitar out of nowhere. Well, you could hear a pin drop, like the look on people's faces. They didn't know what the heck was going on. And I wound up doing this song because I found out it was one of his favorite songs. When I finished, he cried. One of the most gruff, loud, almost obnoxious men that I've ever worked for. He cried. That was really something. I was so scared when I went to do that. I was shaken. I have to admit, I was shaken. But it was it's an experience. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and I'm so glad I did it. So anyways, I'm going to have a sip of my tea here first.
Okay. You get yourself all composed and lay it on us.
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. Somewhere over over the rainbow way. Up high. I'm trying to be quiet because I don't want to blow your ear out. In the land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow sky of blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops, way above the chimney tops, that's where you find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. If happy little bluebirds fly above the rainbow wide, oh, why can't I?
Wow. That was awesome.
Well, oh, bless. Thank you. I'm very out of shape. I'm very, very out of shape. But actually, I got to tell you, ever since we did I called in and I talked about the damage from the H1N1 shot, I have hardly played or sung a note in a very long time. And after actually opening up about that, it's kind of pushed me to pick up my guitar and get back to it again. And I'm terribly out of shape, embarrassing so, but I thank everybody very much for listening and being so kind. Thank you. So that's the story behind the Over the Rainbow. I sang it at the boardroom, in the boardroom for my boss. And yeah, it was quite the thing. And I was in much better shape at that time. It was before I got the shot and stuff. But
people love
yeah,
you. People love that.
You know,
they love what you did. They love you. This is great.
Oh, bless. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you guys so much for listening. And like I said, I'm terribly out of shape, but bear with me. I'm trying to get my feet back in the water, and I'm hoping to do some live streaming shows so I can start fundraising for some stuff I got to deal with. And yes, I do have stuff on the radio too. I've done live radio shows. I have a radio station in Europe and Germany, and UK. They play my original music on air. So I'm just, because, and now I've got somebody with bleeding ears. That's just great. Yeah.
That's probably from listening to me.
Maybe that was Steve. I don't know. Maybe it was Steve.
Whatever.
But anyway, it's been quite a roller coaster ride. But after opening up about, the damage that I've been trying to deal with, it kind of made me realize just how much of myself I'm missing. And so lately, since then, I've, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there, I pick up the guitar and play a tune or two. And I'm hoping my writing will come back as well. And hopefully in the next, by summertime, I'm hoping to do some live streaming shows again and get back on the horse, as it were, and reconnect with the world again. So there you go. And we sure threw me off guard. I did not plan on that.
Well, that was fantastic. So how do they find you online and your stuff?
It's, I used to have my own website, but I couldn't afford it, so I had to let it go. But I have a Facebook music page that's where I keep things active, and it's Deborah White Music. And I have a video on there that supports suicide prevention and awareness. I haven't earned a dime from it, by the way. Facebook told me I earned 4 cents after 8 years of it playing, like over 22,000 plays, and I earned 4 cents. Wow, eh? Thanks.
You and I should go into business together, because we probably get 8 cents total together.
Right? So you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but yeah, if I do some live streaming and stuff, I've got a YouTube as well, but I haven't done much with my YouTube. I've got old videos of me playing live on there as well. But yeah, it's going to take me a bit. I got some practicing to do. I got to get myself back in shape. I still suffer from a lot of pain in my hands, and not being a real guitar player, I do struggle. And getting my vocal cords back in the shape they were in as well. It's going to take time, but I'm on that path again now. So, and I got to ride on a Ski-Doo for the first time since I was a kid. That was pretty cool. So, it was a breath of fresh air, and I thank Leo for that, and thank you for that. It was a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect it, I got to tell you, but I put my guitar down and just went for the ride.
Yeah.
So that was great.
This has been a great Saturday night. It's been a day of sunshine, blue skies. It's been a night of great conversation. We all got to go for a ride on a Sea-Doo, learn a little bit about U.S. Canadian history, maritime law, Windsor, Detroit, Boblo Island. We got to listen to you play Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I am over the moon. And thank you so much for doing that tonight. That was simply awesome.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I'll do better next time.
Yeah, well, we needed this positivity, I think, tonight. I certainly needed it. I needed this uplifting moment, and I'm so grateful to everybody.
I'm glad.
And to you
and thank Maverick for that, because Maverick is the one who encouraged me to call in, because I was not going to call in until I could afford a few bucks.
Well, this is fantastic, man. It was great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You have yourself a great evening. Everybody have a great evening. Take care of each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with that gets us to 10:27 p.m., almost 10:30 p.m. Been another long day, but I'm going to be back tomorrow. No NCI, no National Citizens Inquiry tomorrow. They've wrapped up in Winnipeg, but that means I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our regular time for the show, right here on the Maverick News Channel. I will catch all of you on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.